Kim Dane, an ordinary guy with nothing remarkable, suddenly finds himself pulled into the world of the superhero comic Stardust. There, Kim Dane makes a bold choice to become a villain called Egotic, not only to challenge and elevate Stardust's power, but also to proactively prevent the tragic disasters that occurred in the original story. His determination burns like a vow engraved deep in his heart to protect this world, and above all, to protect her. But fate always has a way of turning things. Stardust, the heroine who once regarded him with suspicion, has now become strangely obsessed with Egotic, the mysterious villain she is determined to hunt down. One day, Kim Dane launches a daring plan called villain hunting. With knowledge from the original work, he knows these villains will soon become terrifying threats. To protect the city and Stardust, he decides to act first, eliminating them before they can sow chaos. Accompanying him is, say, a genius with superintelligence. Over the wireless earpiece, Say's voice rings cold but precise. Over the wireless earpiece, Say's voice rings cold but precise. The target is in sight. He's sitting motionless on the sofa. The perfect moment has arrived. Kim Dane tightens his weapon, palms slightly sweaty. His first ability, teleportation, is activated. In the blink of an eye, the cold barrel is pressed to Reno's forehead, an A-rank villain. His second ability, psychokinesis, erupts like a lord of darkness. Kim Dane speaks in a low voice, a greeting from the abyss echoing, "Welcome to hell." In less than a second, before Reno can react, he ends him without hesitation. When it's over, Kim Dane coldly picks up the stack of papers the villain was holding. Just as predicted, it's a detailed terror plot, ready to drown the city in blood. In the original, Reno would become an S-rank villain, don a rhino mask, and take hundreds of lives. But now, thanks to Kim Dane, that future has been erased. Say's voice comes through the earpiece again. The police and heroes are on their way. Before leaving, Kim Dane leaves a line written in blood on the doorframe, a message directed straight at Stardust. When the police and heroes rush in, they quickly realize the perpetrator this time and the previous one are the same person. That writing is like a challenge, stirring Stardust into a fury. The press begins heavy coverage. Under the articles, the public buzzes. Many unexpectedly support Kim Dane's actions, criticize the hero's sluggishness, and hail Egotic as a shadow enforcer of justice. In the small room, Kim Dane reads those comments, his heart full of conflict. He pulls at his hair, his mind in turmoil. Say sits beside him, glancing at him because of the noisy disturbance. The flame of determination in Kim Dane blazes more fiercely than ever. He cannot let things go this far. If this continues, his image will be glorified, while Stardust, the true hero, will be turned against by public opinion. To protect her, he must become an absolute villain, a dark shadow powerful enough to terrify the whole world. From this moment, Egotic is officially born. He prepares a time bomb, secretly stashed in his backpack. At a crowded square, everyone is gazing at the big screen, waiting for a spectacular sight. At that exact moment, Kim Dane, under the name Egotic, hacks the system and takes over every electronic screen in the city. His masked face appears in the live video, his deep voice ringing with authority. "I am the one who eliminated Reno and Enoch, two A-rank villains." He arrogantly points to Tower 127, then gestures with his other hand toward the observation deck of Building 61. The crowds inside those buildings, and the millions watching via screens, go silent when he declares, "I have planted bombs in those two buildings." Fear spreads like a tsunami. Some panic and scramble for exits, while others stand frozen, unable to believe their eyes. In front of hundreds of lenses, Kim Dane breaks into a defiant smile and calls out to Stardust, "I'm waiting for you, hero." Not keeping him waiting long, Stardust appears, swift as a whirlwind, touching down with a force that makes the ground quake. Kim Dane checks everything. Cloak, mask, all perfect, but his hands are still trembling. This is the first time he faces the character he loves most in Stardust. Radiant like a goddess, so beautiful his heart skips a beat. "Wow!" he exclaims, unable to contain his admiration. In that moment, time seems to stop. Memories flood back. The first day he was pulled into this world, his body full of wounds, standing on the line between life and death. He once longed to return to his old world, until the screen's light illuminated Stardust's face. That very moment changed everything. If he became a hero, he could stand by her. But Kim Dane, who had memorized every line of the story, knew that even a hero would not be enough to protect her from fateful tragedies. So he chose the path of the villain, not to destroy, but to become an unyielding fortress, shielding Stardust from all dangers. Back when Kim Dane was only 15, the harsh, gut-clenching laughter of the man being mocked on TV wouldn't stop. Ha ha ha. His face was gleeful, laughing madly. Ha ha ha. Back then he really couldn't understand. Was Jackie truly insane? Even for a villain, this is over the top. Now, having understood a villain's mindset, he confidently answers with a terrifying laugh. Ha ha ha. Despite the hero before him looking at him with furious eyes, ready to beat him to a pulp at any moment. The world seems to freeze, even the chattering crowd below. It's as if only a hero and a villain remain on the rooftop. Rewind a few minutes before the two officially met. Kim Dane points at Stardust with a smug look. I know what you're thinking right now, he says coldly. Even my subordinate who's controlling the broadcast has a detonator. So don't think you can overpower me with strength. The hero's step falters at that remark. He spreads his arms. Behind him dozens of drones hover in the sky. I made this stage just for Stardust. How do you like it? She responds with a scowl. You lunatic. Release the innocent people now. A few punches and you're done. Just take him. Kim Dane keeps a nonchalant smile, tilts his head, raises his hand to the camera. Yes, you should release them. Those are the words of the righteous hero Stardust. Everyone, look at me. Now I'll unlock elevator A at the observation floor. He snaps his fingers. Click, a sound comes from the elevators in both buildings. Stardust's brows knit slightly. She knows villains too well. It can't end that easily. Some residents see the elevators working again and rush over. Hurry up, a voice shouts, but then a piercing sound cuts across, stopping them. Wait, Kim Dane smirks. This is still part of my plan. If I release them right away, it wouldn't be fun. He points to the illuminated down button. Look, just press that button and the bomb at the other observation deck will explode. Simple, right? He hums. From now until the bomb goes off, there are 30 minutes. Before then, hurry and choose. Kim Dane becomes a true devil now, using words to lure the weak-willed crowd. Hurry up. After all, they're strangers, right? On the big screen, chaotic images from inside the building are broadcast widely. Children screaming, arguments, and pleas blend together. Stardust grits her teeth and growls softly. Bastard. But Kim Dane ignores it, pretending not to hear. Today, I will show everyone the depths of human selfishness. This is Egotic's game. Inside the buildings, people begin to panic. If the other side presses first, we die. But if we don't press, we're doomed too. No. There are 30 minutes left. Does he really want to kill people with one button? Yeah. Seems like it. They're all worried, doubtful. Will the other side press it? There's no time to think. The bomb will go off in tens of minutes. Tension fills the space. Damn it! What is the hero doing now? Someone yells. Stardust stands there, unable to act rashly. She could rush and take him down in an instant, but if there truly is a detonator elsewhere, then everything would be meaningless. Damn. If this continues, the hostages will... Her gaze is icy, voice choked. Is playing with people's lives fun for you? Opposite her, Kim Dane remains relaxed, eyes narrowed as he smiles. Haha. The fun isn't there. Stardust, one of the few A-rank heroes in Korea. Someone who always believes in justice and her convictions, never compromising with evil. Actually, I quite respect you, Stardust. Those words make her flush with anger. What nonsense are you spouting? Kim Dane gleefully rubs his nose. Proud. I just wanted to compliment you while the whole country watches you on TV. His voice rings out again, drawing everyone's attention. Seeing her helpless, unable to do anything, Kim Dane smiles maniacally and reaches to touch the bomb button. This is really fascinating. His figure fades, his voice coldly echoing. I'll give you a chance to join this game too. Now I will connect you with those frantically waiting for the hero. Stardust's expression flickers with surprise. She eyes him warily. What? Kim Dane continues the performance. If you succeed in convincing them, and in 30 minutes no one presses the button. He crosses his legs, grinning wickedly. The bomb will not detonate. Of course Stardust doesn't believe him. You expect me to trust a bastard like you? But Kim Dane isn't afraid. He goads her. Better than letting them helplessly stare at the sky, right? She clenches her fist at her side, furious but powerless. Kim Dane gestures broadly. Come on. Let's begin. A shout echoes, and all the cameras immediately turn towards Stardust. 3, 2, 1. After the countdown, a dramatic scene unfolds. The hero's face appears on giant LED screens across the buildings. Citizens simultaneously recognize her. Stardust draws a deep breath amid the invisible pressure, looks into the lens as if into the eyes of millions. Hello, everyone. I am an A-rank hero, Stardust. Each person carries their own faith in their heart. Kim Dane watches silently, his face dazed. That's it. This is what I wanted. A half-real, half-illusion world. Just like a dream. He will be portrayed in the public eye as a terrorist villain. His dream becomes reality while she will shine. This is the stage set for you, Stardust. Her voice rings out strong and warm, so that later, people can be proud of the choice they made today. Show this villain that we are strong. Our faith will never waver. We will never bow to evil. Thank you, everyone. Kim Dane slightly curls his lips, a mysterious smile forming. The countdown on the screen shows only 5. Those trapped inside the building hold each other tightly and pray. Stardust's face is filled with worry. As the number reaches its end, everyone closes their eyes and waits. No one knows whether the punishment will fall, or whether the villain will keep his word. At that moment, all the cameras drop, accompanied by Kim Dane's piercing screams. Impossible! Impossible! The cameras capture his anguished, stunned face. So, they didn't rush out to save themselves? Impossible! There must be at least one person who pressed the button. There must be someone as selfish as me. Kim Dane clutches his head, muttering in despair. People can't be this kind. Why? Then Stardust speaks. Egos tick. People aren't as selfish as you think. Her image appears radiant as light, her voice steady. No one is wholly selfless, but I believe in people's goodness. Kim Dane looks at her and smiles slightly. It's because of you, Stardust. You made them unite. His expression shifts, a crooked smile appearing. How interesting, Stardust. Kim Dane politely bows before Stardust lunges forward. In the next game, Kim Dane vows he will see her one last time. Stardust's steadfast blue eyes move him. Her gaze is full of righteousness. Finally, he disappears with the assertion, I will win. The entire populace erupts in joyous emotion. They cheer, embrace, celebrating the hero's victory. All together, they chant Stardust's name. Nevertheless, the hero remains silently standing in place. Kim Dane quickly teleported to another location. The moment he hit the ground, he collapsed helplessly. That was brutal, he groaned in complaint. Oh my God, I'm going to die. This is the consequence of teleportation, the dangerous side effect of instantaneous movement. Bodily damage is proportional to the distance traveled. His body was so heavy he couldn't even crawl. Ugh, I'll probably be bedridden for days. A girl exclaimed. I told you not to swap that hat again, didn't I? The white-haired girl looked at him with contempt. So ugly. Kim Dane mumbled a plea. Ugh, you're really about to die. Give him a glass of water. The girl dusted herself off and cruelly walked away. Drink it yourself, leaving him frozen in place. The large screen flashed breaking news. Terrorist incident at the building. Number of casualties 0. Stardust hovered in the air, grinding her teeth with hatred. Playing with other people's hearts? Next time I'll catch you for sure. She vowed to remember that name until she caught him. Ego tick. One early morning at the Korean Heroes Association, the organization of those with superhuman abilities. The big screen showed countless tabloid headlines posted online. These are the recent headlines. The radio kidnapper watched by the whole nation. Who is the one who named Hero Stardust? Review his past actions. Ego tick. Who is the A-rank villain? Hot topic. No casualties from the terrorist attack. News spread across the peninsula, and the broadcast kidnapping even reached abroad. Is Korean broadcast security okay? The meeting host turned to the next page. Analytical dossier on Ego tick. Villain information and some facts about Kim Dane when disguised as Ego tick. Male, wearing a mask, possibly equipped with an identity-obscuring function, predicted. A portly, balding man spoke up. Then let's begin the briefing. This is Park Jun-ho, chairman of the Korean Heroes Association. Images appeared alongside a few scenes of murders in confined rooms. He looked disgusted. All right, we've seen this part many times, move on. The host continued. I will explain the details of yesterday's incident. First, it seems the perpetrator exploited instantaneous teleportation to attach the bomb beforehand to the exterior of the building. After disassembly, it was confirmed to be a high-yield improvised explosive device, powerful enough to blow off the entire observation deck. Conclusion: a homemade bomb he built himself. Park Jun-ho rubbed his shiny head, distressed. Still no leads on the kidnapping? The secretary replied awkwardly. Yes, how he bypassed modern security systems to broadcast is still a mystery. We do have some specific analyses. However, since no one with broadcasting-related abilities has appeared before, we think it's highly likely he has an extremely skilled tech assistant working backstage. That's the tentative conjecture. An assistant? The likelihood that person made the bomb is very high, the secretary said gravely. One more thing I'd like to add. He seems very obsessed with Stardust. All eyes immediately turned to the blonde-haired woman. From the scattered clues, people could be sure he left a message targeting her at the scene. The case also confirmed he directly referenced her through the villain's words, according to the A-rank hero in charge's report. Hearing that, Park Joon-ho directly asked her, "How did it feel to meet that guy in person?" He pointed straight at Stardust. She stood up slightly and offered her remark. He's like someone with a psychological disorder who enjoys toying with people's hearts. Moreover, he has the capability to organize large-scale terrorist acts. A truly dangerous villain. 2 days after the terrorist incident, in Kim Dane's room, he lay bedridden, groaning. "Oh my God, I'm going to die." He tried to force himself to sit up and fumbled into the kitchen to find something to eat. Just as he took a sip of orange juice, a voice called out, "You doing that again?" Kim Dane startled, spat out the drink and hurriedly explained, "Ah, it's not like that. Say, I'm not like that. Now let me introduce this girl. This is Hansel, she has superintelligence." At first I wasn't used to her calling me a genius hacker. In the original story, she grows up to become an S-rank villain, a hacking prodigy. Well, that's in the original. But for now, I've kept this girl by my side. The girl snaps, "This is my home. Don't act like it's your place." Actually, the two of them are in Hansel's underground base. Kim Dane chuckles lightly. "Haha. Anyway, I'm covering living expenses and everything." Hansel immediately threatens, "You better shut up and drink. Got it?" Kim Dane smiles softly at that cute threat. He gently pats her head. "Okay, I get it." The warm moment doesn't last long before the girl bashfully pulls him along. Something else is happening. Hurry up. The door to the modern control room opens and closes. Hansel sits before an advanced control screen. "Remember that girl named Lubin I mentioned earlier? She's a candidate to be our assistant." Kim Dane doesn't hesitate. The deep web girl? I think she's a fan of mine." The girl makes a few keystrokes, then points at the screen. "Look, she's here." Kim Dane hears the broadcaster's voice. Fanatics following Egotic are carrying out a terrorist attack, taking hostages at the Inon Center. They've planted a bomb in that building. He freezes and moves closer to the screen. What the hell? These lunatics. Is that girl being held hostage there? Han Seo points at the trembling gunman. "No, it's the masked girl." The broadcaster continues. "The fanatics say they will not negotiate and only seek terror and death. Police confirm at least 3 dead, and about 300 hostages remain trapped in the building." Kim Dane's voice deepens. "Say, what are our rules?" The girl remembers her brother's instruction clearly. Absolutely never kill civilians. Danger flashes in Kim Dane's eyes. "We have to clear them out. Help me." Han Seo nods resolutely. He begins calculating how to handle the situation and observes the scene. On the other side, at the site of the terrorist incident, Stardust stands before the blazing building. She presses her lips together, is silent for a long moment, then speaks over the radio. "Headquarters request permission to breach." From the other end, the commander replies, "Not yet. Wait for orders. Only after the police finish their final negotiation will you be allowed to breach, with authorization to eliminate if necessary." This incident makes her hate Kim Dane even more. It's all because of that bastard. She grits her teeth. Previous terrorist acts were usually carried out by superpowered villains. But this time, he didn't use superpowers. He used explosives and kidnapping as his spearhead, a tactic that puts heroes on the defensive. Clearly, the image of him pressuring the heroes inspired other ordinary people to copy him. Stardust spits angrily, because after that day many copycat crimes occurred. Suddenly, a message over the radio. "Stardust, Egotic has appeared at the scene. He's live-streaming the interior on YouTube." "What?" She gasps, immediately pulling out her phone. Indeed, the villain who once joked about others' deaths appears again. Viewers flood in quickly. What is this? The villain is live-streaming the terrorist scene? The world's #1 villain. The chat is full of chaotic comments. "This is a crime scene. Yeah, as long as it's not me. Free Kim Jong-yu. Where's the moderation? Broadcasting again, the footage shows Kim Dane, as Egotic, standing inside the building, facing a group of people dressed like him. They point guns and shout, "Who are you?" Immediately after, they cheer, "Our hero Egotic has come down to the mortal world. He will personally wipe out these idiots. Just you watch." But Kim Dane only frowned, looking far from pleased. "God, I have to teleport a long distance just to deal with these guys. My whole body hurts." "No, damn it." The terrorists panic. "Gee, Gostic?" He burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, this is fun." The terrorists didn't get it and forced polite laughs. At that moment, Han Seo's voice came through the earpiece. 3 o'clock position. The guy is standing by the pillar holding a detonator. Kim Dane glanced over and confirmed the target. In an instant, the terrorist was blown apart, his body having a huge hole like a donut. The others screamed in horror. "No, this person isn't Egotic. He's definitely an undercover cop." They immediately aimed their guns, but before they could pull the trigger, the weapons flew out of their hands. In the blink of an eye, Kim Dane's gun was pointed straight at each of them. He sneered, "I've never had fools like you as subordinates." Gunfire rang out, the building filled with smoke and screams. The scene was live-streamed, leaving online viewers stunned. "Wait, are they on the same side? Why are they all taken out? Whoa, they killed them. Brutal. Who is Egotic to act like that? What are the heroes doing? The villains saving people. Is this for real?" Just then, Command authorized Stardust to enter, with the top priority being the hostage's safety. She rushed into the building and found only one person left standing unscathed, the very person Kim Dane had been looking for. Han Seo's voice came through the earpiece. "Sir, rescue her. From my confirmation, she was forced by the terrorists and did not participate willingly." The girl curled up, clutching her head and sobbing. "Save me. Sob sob." Kim Dane stepped forward. His hand made her startle. He ripped her mask off with a firm hand, his voice stern. "Did you do something wrong? Yes or no?" The girl trembled, tears welling. "Okay, I admit it. Hick, I admit it." The more she spoke, the louder she cried. Kim Dane frowned. "If you keep crying like that, you'll get shot." She quickly covered her mouth and fell silent. He turned to the civilians taken hostage, then solemnly bowed. "I'm sorry. Although this wasn't caused by me, I take responsibility for the copycat acts that arose from my case." This act caused online comments to explode. "What? The villain is being polite like this? Wait, what's actually going on here?" Kim Dane continued calmly. "To the hostages and those affected because of me, I will transfer compensation money to your accounts. Please check. I deeply apologize to the 3 victims who lost their lives. I will pay the highest compensation possible." Still, he hesitated inwardly. Transferring from fake accounts like this, it's easy to trace. "I don't know, say we'll handle it, right?" Han Seo sighed and replied, "Sigh, just take her back now. You can tell she agreed to do it." Kim Dane only gave a faint smile. Kim Dane hoisted Lai Subin onto his shoulder. Hick, his body immediately felt like it shattered. The effects of teleportation made his whole body tremble. Suddenly, a shockwave hit the entire floor. Kim Dane instantly realized the only one who could do that was Stardust. She was charging in. Before she could fully make sense of the situation, a few days after that commotion at John Hai University, in a Chiu Chiu cafe, KPS News reported, "The villain will be held financially responsible with cash compensation," plunging the public into chaos. The villain Egotic bowed at the scene of the terrorist attack. Confirming the hostage's accounts is proving far from easy. What kind of person is he? KPS's in-depth investigative headline. A blonde girl sat alone at a table, eyes fixed on her phone screen. Her fingers scrolled through the comments. Who even is Egotic? The name Egotic sounds more legendary than the heroes. Suddenly she sprang to her feet, about to rush off. Luckily, Kim Dane's legs went weak at that moment, so he managed to dodge in time. Stardust had truly been too hasty and hadn't had time to react. Oh no. And just like that, she had let the villain slip away, the one she should have caught. Thinking back only made her angrier. Shin Haru, Stardust's real name, could only sigh in frustration. Just then, another girl came over and pulled out a chair. "Haru, what's wrong? Having trouble with the assignment?" It was Kim Chae-hyun, Haru's close senior. Haru snapped awake and looked up. It's nothing, sis." She bowed her head awkwardly and pretended to focus on the work. "I'm fine. Just a little distracted." Stardust, South Korea's A-rank hero, whose real name is Shin Haru. On missions, she hid her identity with a cognition-dulling filter, so to others she appeared to be just an ordinary student. Well, maybe not entirely ordinary, since she always drew everyone's attention. Lately, the thing that bothered her most was the name Egotic. Haru circled that name in her notebook, her eyes flashing with resentment. People are all selfish, she muttered. A big question formed in her mind. But why did he save the hostages? Suddenly, the person opposite pinched her cheek. Look at you, making that sad face again. Kim Chae-hyun cheerfully suggested. Forget the assignment for now. Let's go get mango ice cream, your favorite. Haru's face immediately brightened, but then the image of Egotic's manic smile and lecherous eyes flashed in her mind. Haha, her expression suddenly darkened. Chae-hyun studied her closely and asked softly, "Not even mangoes can cheer you up?" "Impossible." As she finished speaking, there was a snapping sound. Haru broke her pen and mumbled, "The mango is mine." Chae-hyun laughed and coaxed like a child. "All right, the mango is yours, all yours." The fire in Haru burned like hell. "I'm haunted by that ego tick. I'll definitely force him to show himself." Despite her anger, when fed a spoonful of mango ice cream, she ate it in an oddly cute way. Meanwhile, in the heart of Seoul, where villains and heroes constantly clash, there was a house that looked very ordinary. But when the front door opened, there was another door by the entrance. When that second door was open, suddenly an elevator appeared. After entering the code, the door closed and the lift began descending dozens of floors underground. It was Egotic's base, also called the Ego Base. Kim Dane lay back in a glass chamber, proudly admiring his handiwork. Han Seo frowned. "Hey, why did you go and name someone else's house?" He replied casually, "What, really? Between us, there's no distinction of whose house is whose. Your home is my home, and my home is your home." The girl pouted, disdainful. How weird, totally ridiculous. Before he could say more, a pain in his knee made him writhe and shout loudly, "Ugga!" Han Seo snapped. "Stop talking nonsense. Lie still so you'll heal faster." Kim Dane whimpered. "Don't say that. Teleporting instantly while carrying someone doubled my exhaustion." Suddenly he laughed slyly. "Han Seo, the one with superintelligence. I'm sure your casting hungry looks my way." "TSK, where was I?" he said contentedly. Although the reason he recruited her as an assistant wasn't that, the fatigue recovery capsule she invented really was effective. Han Seo glanced at him and gave a thumbs up with a strange look. What the heck? The door suddenly opened. The person he risked his life to save in the terrorist attack walked in. "I'm home," Lee Subin said shyly. The fridge was empty. "So, does anyone want some snacks?" Kim Dane exclaimed in shock. "What? You're wanted and you went outside?" She replied cheerfully. "I covered my face before going out." He froze. "That's even more suspicious." Watching that, Kim Dane privately suspected. Could this girl be planning to have me fetch people back to do chores? He teleported right in front of Han Seo. "Why are you telling me to take this person back?" The girl peeled her ice cream and replied nonchalantly. "Oh, I just planned to ask her for a little help." Kim Dane blanked. "What? That should have been considered before someone became a terrorist. Are you sure she won't open fire in our house?" Han Seo sighed. "She won't," she asserted firmly. "This person had no intention of terrorism. She was dragged out by your henchmen. They practically forced her to participate." Then she pointed at Lee Subin. Miss Lee Subin, right?" The girl startled. "Huh? How do you know my name?" Han Seo smiled mysteriously. "I know everything. And your household registration too. Your parents are researchers at the Hansel Corporation, right?" Lee Subin's face went pale. "How did you know that?" Han Seo replied casually. "I read the posts you wrote on the deep web. That protective system has a lot of lodong." She stepped closer, eyes serious. "Lee Subin, do you want revenge? Revenge for what Hansel Corporation did to your parents." She paused, voice loaded with implication. "I'm looking for the heads of Hansel Corporation." Kim Dane listened as Han Seo spoke, her tone clear and decisive. "I've been harmed a lot too. I need to find those bastards and crush them before I can feel at ease. Will you help me?" Kim Dane slightly frowned, quickly piecing together Han Seo's actions in his head. So that's it. That girl was also a victim of Hansel Corporation like Han Seo. When I convinced Sei to become my first assistant, I also promised to help her get revenge. Of course, his real purpose was to prevent Han Seo from becoming an S-rank villain as in the original story. After all, Lee Subin left little impression in the original tale, just a fleeting minor role. That could be evidence she's harmless. But we'll still see whether she can be of use to me. Suddenly, Kim Dane snapped awake when he saw the two girls in front of him hugging and sobbing. He went dumbfounded, not understanding what's happening. Who, Miss Sob? Say. This development is fast. I'm the only one who can't keep up with the emotions. He blinked and sighed. Your cool image just collapsed. He fell silent, watching the two of them be moved for a long while. Then he quietly returned to the compartment and exhaled. Fine. I'll just lie still and be safe. That evening, in a cozy restaurant, everyone anxiously watched a young couple arguing. The space was silent except for the wife's sobs. Sniff. Why are you doing this to me? Tears streamed down her cheeks. The man opposite her was silent, his cold gaze frightening her. I'm confessing my feelings to you, so why do you look so sad? The situation escalated, prompting nearby patrons to call the police. A police officer appeared and strode to their table, coldly saying, There's a report of assault. Come with me to the station. The man muttered curses. Damn it. Let me eat a bit more. Get lost. The officer growled. Without waiting, he placed a hand on the man's shoulder. All right, I'm officially arresting you. Immediately, the man's body flashed with red light. In an instant, the officer was teleported to the edge of the building's rooftop railing. The man's perverted laugh sounded behind him. Shall we go to the station together? Then he contemptuously delivered a kick. All right, but I'll see you off first. The officer, caught off guard, couldn't react in time and fell straight down. The man sneered coldly. Who do you think you are to defy me? You fake cop. This is an A-rank villain, Kim Ha-chun, who can teleport through space. The world in his eyes was desolate and soaked in blood. A scream rang out in the darkness. You think killing me will change this world? Han Seo, the White Witch who was a 5th-rank villain in the original, now appeared in a completely different form. Stardust couldn't read the hero's expression at that moment, until a voice cut through his reverie. Hey, come back to the present. Han Seo, 16 years old, loves orange juice. You drank my orange juice again, didn't you? She screamed. Lee Subin, washing dishes, awkwardly replied, Say, I'm sorry, I drank it. I'll buy you another, okay? Immediately, Han Seo's face brightened. She hugged Subin and beamed. It's okay, sis. Seeing this, Kim Dane grimaced, his voice dripping with sarcasm. She sure doesn't treat me like that. Then he suddenly asked, Hey Say, so you finally stopped pretending to be a boy? The girl angrily shouted, Kim Dane, stop teasing me. He took the chance to laugh triumphantly. Ha ha ha. The three of them's lives flowed on strangely happy and peaceful. Looking back, Han Seo's misfortune stemmed from the Bloom project carried out by the Hansel Corporation. She was the sole survivor. Hundreds of children were subjected to illegal experiments. One day, a child developed an unexpected complication. The entire facility exploded, leaving only Han Seo alive. With her body battered and scarred, the girl fled the facility, hid in an underground bunker, and built a secret refuge. That place has now become their base. She lived alone for many years until Kim Dane suddenly appeared. A chair crashed to the floor, putting Han Seo on guard like a hedgehog bristling its quills. Kim Dane calmly made an offer. Don't you want to avenge them? I need your help. Before the girl's bewildered eyes, he reached out his hand, his voice sincere. I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to save you. That was the beginning of the relationship they have now. Unlike the original, where Han Seo turned into an S-rank villain out of hatred and died, this time Kim Dane swore he wouldn't let that happen. He promised he wouldn't let her walk the path of villainy. Still, a thought nagged at him. Now that Han Seo is complicit with him, does that make her a villain? In any case, stay on the right path. Sensing his scrutinizing gaze, Han Seo turned back, frowning. What are you looking at? You don't even understand, so stop staring. Kim Dane's eyes flicked subtly to the other person, Lee Subin. Both her parents were researchers who had passed away. She taught herself, worked her way up, and was admitted to a prestigious university. Kim Dane knew her file well. She majored in computer engineering, making her well-suited to handle technical support for Han Seo. He took a sip of water, speaking evenly. Although she's a bit suspicious, you have to admit her cooking skills are top-notch. Suddenly, Han Seo produced a small spider. Done. This is the tracking sensor. Kim Dane went blank. A tracker for what? She tooted. Have you forgotten our trade? It's for the villain on the list you picked. He froze. The one who teleports instantly is him? Kim Dane knew very well. This guy could teleport endlessly over short distances with no harm. He couldn't be stopped by brute force. Truly a tough one. Han Seo laughed excitedly. The harder he is, the more reason to deal with him first. Kim Dane sighed, rubbing his head. Do you understand how exhausting it is for me to teleport constantly? No need to understand, just do it, she shouted. Egotic, move out. The team quickly set off, heading to a small apartment in a remote area. Kim Dane crept on the rooftop, anxious. Say, can I get in now? Kim Dane crept on the rooftop, anxious. Say, can I get in now? The girl's voice came through the earpiece. What? You're not in yet? Go now. He still hesitated, tension rising. Is teleporting straight into the living room okay? What if he's there? Han Seo sighed, repeating once more. How many times have I said, trust me, Dane? Kim Dane fired rounds equipped with tracking devices. Even if the opponent teleports to avoid the bullets, the sensors will still attach. He looked at the shiny gun in his hand, while Han Seo began to get annoyed. I built them faster than the bullets. You studied humanities. You wouldn't understand even if I explained. Just go in. Even so, he hesitated a bit. Wouldn't killing him outright on the street be quicker? Han Seo almost wanted to flip a table at his slow pace. He never goes out, always just teleports. I've investigated and prepared this whole plan. Han Seo was anxious, taking a gulp of water, while Lubin next to her cheered nervously. Go egos tick. Seeing that, Han Seo shyly added, Yastik, go for it. Kim Dane seemed invigorated, excited. All right, thanks. Let's begin. Immediately, he teleported straight into the criminal's home just as the man had finished showering. Surprised at his appearance, the man startled and snorted. Instantly, Han Seo shouted loudly into the earpiece. Shoot! He raised his gun and pulled the trigger. Two small sensor-equipped spiders shot out at incredible speed. As predicted, Kim Hak-chun immediately teleported away and vanished. Kim Dane threw down his gun, anxiously asking, Damn it! Say, did the trackers stick? On the other end, Han Seo closely monitored the situation. They're stuck. Sister Subin. Report the location. Lai Subin immediately checked. He's currently 500 meters east of here. Without further thought, Kim Dane followed the directions. He teleported to appear in the middle of a crowded street. People recognized him at once. Hey, isn't that Gostik? It really is him. Kim Dane frowned, scanning his surroundings, muttering, Damn it, this situation wasn't in the plan. Immediately, images of him went viral across social media. In the John Hai University lecture hall, Shinharu was studying when she received a message over the radio. Egostic has appeared in the city. Hero Stardust preparing to deploy under the association's orders. She jumped up, panicked. What? Everyone in the class turned to look. She hurriedly gathered her things. Sorry, everyone. Excuse me. Then she rushed out of the classroom. On this side, Han Seo checked the tracker. Hey, right ahead, at the intersection. Kim Dane immediately saw Kim Hak-chun stumbling away, hit by the sensor bullet. The light turned red. He recklessly jumped out to block his path. Ignore it. Just charge straight at him. Han Seo's anxious voice crackled in his earpiece. Eager to capture an A-rank criminal, Kim Dane dashed across the street without watching for traffic. A truck hurtled toward them at breakneck speed. It was unclear whether he could act in time to avoid disaster. At that moment, while fleeing, Kim Hak-chun suddenly remembered that fateful day. Hey, Kim Hak-chun, weren't you thrilled when you stole the money and ran? He pleaded helplessly. I'll pay it back. Please spare me. Not sincere enough. The ringleader pressed a cigarette to the rope, causing it to burn and sending him into the sea. In that desperate moment, he cursed, I curse you all to die. The instant his face hit the water, Kim Hak-chun suddenly vanished. When the others were about to leave, he reappeared nearby unexpectedly, terrifying the whole group. Kim Hak-chun stared in bewilderment as he realized he was still alive, but the others immediately lunged to seize him again. After being surrounded for a while, he clenched his fist, rejoicing. So now no one can catch me anymore. Thinking that, he teleported away, letting the two sides collide with each other and escape. Back in the present, the truck slammed on its brakes when it spotted Kim Dane in the road, but he had already teleported into the cab, startling the driver. Seeing him safe, Kim Hak-chun fumed and immediately teleported onto the roof of a nearby building, observing the situation closely, grinding his teeth in rage. Could it be he was finishing off two villains over a personal grudge? I clearly have nothing to do with this. Below, the moment Kim Dane stepped out of the vehicle, he was immediately surrounded by a large crowd. Yes, I'm busy working. Can't talk much," he said quickly, then added, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt anyone. But that A-rank villain who can teleport, go to hell now." No sooner had the words left his mouth than a strange thought flashed through Kim Hak-chun's mind. Could he be a villain hunter who hunts down and eliminates villains? As soon as he escaped that thought, Kim Dane reappeared and continued the chase. From then on, wherever Kim Hak-chun went, Kim Dane followed closely. Trash belongs in the bin. Rotten villains must be wiped from the world. Come on. Today I'll clean up one more piece of garbage. Relentlessly pursued, Kim Hak-chun lost his composure and grabbed a nearby civilian as a hostage. Kim Dane's voice echoed in his head. Why can I still hear him in my ear? Kim Hak-chun threw the civilian backward and kept running. Before the girl could fall, Kim Dane had already reached out and caught her. He gently asked, "Are you okay?" His concern made the girl blush. She murmured, "Yes." After repeatedly using instantaneous teleportation, Kim Hak-chun had nearly exhausted his strength. He could no longer withstand it and collapsed. He mumbled in despair, "Why me?" Once the rescued girl had rested, egoistic Kim Dane turned his attention to the real target, the A-rank villain, the instantaneous teleporter. Without a word, he pulled out his pistol and pressed it to the man's head. "You've already confessed your crime." Though exhausted, Kim Hak-chun still tried to argue. "Yastik," Kim Dane snorted and replied, "Damn it, you're a villain too." "Yeah, but at least I'm not as despicable as you." He turned to the watching crowd and shouted, "Everyone, this scumbag stole tens of billions and murdered four innocent people. Those victims were someone's husband, father, friend, or son. Do you want to spare this cold-blooded killer?" Asked that, the crowd answered without hesitation, "Finish him. Yeah, kill him." Hearing that, Kim Hak-chun trembled and flailed in despair. "You bastards. Wanting me finished, aren't you no different from me?" Yastik heard this and smiled with satisfaction. "Hak-chun, your greatest crime is that you'll become an A-rank villain later, murder hundreds, and torment Stardust countless times." Shaking off the thought, he turned back, growling, "You mean those two things are the same? Sorry, but it looks like you'll die here." Immediately after, a pained scream rang out. Yastik scanned the surroundings. What surprised him was that the civilians were not afraid but jubilant, elated at the villain's demise. How strange. Seeing someone shot to death with my own eyes, you'd expect people to be terrified. Having finished, he stood up dazed, looking at the crowd's cheerful faces. Apart from superpowers, this world isn't so different from the old one. But moments like this made him realize he was in a completely different place. The people here are puzzling. After thinking for a moment, Egoistic pushed aside that feeling, doffed his hat, and smiled in greeting. "But I'm the villain. Aren't you supposed to be afraid of me?" Hearing him, the crowd grew more cautious. At that moment, a familiar voice called out. Egoistic immediately recognized it and looked up to the sky. "Stardust? Damn. I've drawn attention for too long." Stardust quickly descended and pointed at him, barking, "You bastard." Yastik paid him no mind and focused on appraising the newcomer. Normally she's a somewhat cold college student, but when she becomes a hero, her voice changes completely, like in a fantasy tale. Thinking that, the simple mode in his head automatically kicked in, finding her unbearably adorable. But Stardust misunderstood that demeanor. "What did you do?" No matter how infatuated he might be, Egoistic stayed in character as the villain. "So what? I just dealt with a cruel A-rank villain who murdered people and robbed a bank. Merely doing the job your heroes should be doing." Stardust fell silent, unable to rebut. Seeing that reaction, he continued, "Hey, what did I do wrong? A-rank villains can be judged on the spot by heroes." Unable to argue, she changed the subject. "Egoistic, do you think you're a hero?" That question stunned Egoistic. "Huh? I'm the villain." At that moment, he realized, probably a ton of people are filming and praising Stardust, right? It's so crowded here. Shaking off the thought, he smiled and clapped as if to change the subject. "That's Stardust all right. A villain like me punishing evildoers is technically illegal. But I can't accept her rigid chivalry." He added, "Maybe I should withdraw for today." Those words set the crowd buzzing. So villains can only fight heroes? he has a point. After all, she arrived late and couldn't take down the teleporter. Honestly, Ego's-Tick didn't do anything wrong. Those opinions left Stardust confused and saddened, while Ego's-Tick felt the world was even more chaotic. Something's off. Just then, Han Seo urged in his earpiece. Hey, don't ramble. Just leave. Pressured and given the situation, he hurriedly explained. Oh no, I didn't mean I'm right. I'll still keep doing villainous work, and Stardust can stop me if she wants. Then he regained his composure and said coldly, Then, that's it for today. With that, Kim Dane used his teleportation power and disappeared. With nothing left to see, the crowd dispersed, leaving Stardust still pensive. Should we go too? Yeah, let's go. Everyone left. She quietly stepped toward Kim Ha-chun's body. Her heart heavy, she returned to base. As soon as they arrived, Ego's-Tick had already collapsed unconscious. Han Seo quickly shouted, Subin, come up here. Lai Subin, startled by the call, ran over. What's wrong? Han Seo examined him and explained. It's a side effect of the teleportation ability. The two girls together dragged him to a room. 1, 2. Just then, Kim Dane's phone in his pocket vibrated. It turned out a post about this afternoon's event had been published on a free forum, polling sympathies between the two sides. Who do you like more, cool dude Ego's-Tick or old-fashioned Stardust? Definitely me. That evening, Stardust sat quietly on a rooftop, reading that post with visible sadness. She remembered the painful events of the past when she was Shin Haru, a 17-year-old student, and an unfortunate incident occurred. No, Mom, Dad. Seeing her anguished state, the robber sneered triumphantly, holding the stolen wallet. You should have handed this over sooner. He pulled out a handgun to threaten her. Blame your stupid parents. But even with a gun pressed to her head, Shin Haru had nothing left to lose and felt no fear. Not seeing the reaction he expected, the robber grew bored, smiled broadly, and holstered his gun. What luck? Huh? He flicked away his cigarette and turned his back to leave, leaving the person who had just murdered his parents to escape. Shin Haru was unwilling to accept it, but could only collapse in helpless sobs. If only I had the power to protect Mom and Dad. No matter how much I regretted it, things would have turned out differently. Mom, Dad, I will end that bastard. After making that vow, Haru sat by her parents' bodies and cried herself dry. Just then, a beam of light suddenly appeared in the dark sky. A shooting star fell straight into the narrow alley. The student Shin Haru, who was crying, suddenly looked up. A blinding light struck her eyes. As the light gradually faded, Haru lost consciousness, and her hair changed from black to blonde. The next day, at the secret base, after resting, Kim Dane finally opened his eyes. Han Seo sat waiting by the glass, just waiting for this moment to cheer. You're awake. Before he could say anything, he wearily called to the girl. Say, can I have a hot meal? Suddenly, Han Seo handed him her phone. Eat while you listen. Immediately, the girl read the article on the screen, the compiled facts about A-rank villain Gostic Dane, only stating the facts about A-rank villain Ego's-Tick. Han Seo read carefully, recounting many of Dane's feats. Eliminated A-rank villain Lai, eliminated A-rank villain Zodiac, orchestrated and suppressed a series of special incidents at the observatory, handled the self-styled cult troublemakers, foiled their hostage terrorism, and even paid compensation to the victims. Pausing briefly, Han Seo continued. The teleporter has been on the run for years. Despite the reward, authorities judge arresting him extremely difficult. Honestly, he doesn't look villainous at all. Not only that, the girl smiled and added, 7,842 likes and only 12 dislikes. What do you think? Hearing this, Dane awkwardly asked, So, what about Stardust? Mentioning that name, Han Seo pouted. Stardust? Check the comments below. Without letting him take the phone, she read on. Actually, Ego's-Tick is better than Stardust. Stardust hasn't done anything so far. Hearing that, Dane almost choked on his food. Han Seo read more. Ego the King has defeated 3 A-rank villains. Regaining his composure, Dane stammered. Why is Stardust being criticized like that? The girl thought for a moment and explained. Maybe because among the 3 A-rank heroes, she is the least active. Shadow Walker or Ice have each single-handedly saved dozens or hundreds, but Stardust hasn't done that many. After reading, Han Seo hesitantly watched Dane's reaction. See, that's how people respond. Hearing these comments, Kim Dane despaired, unable to hide his sadness. Is that the majority? It didn't stop there. Han Seo held up the screen to show a dancing mango icon. Gleefully. Meanwhile, Ego's Tick even has a fan club. This information shattered Dane. He sank to his knees, clutching his head. No. Impossible. A villain fan club? These lunatics, unable to accept the situation. He stood up and his mind began to plan. All right, I can't let this go on. After thinking it over, Kim Dane decided to prepare for the next terror attack. Say, Subin, can you two do it? Suddenly called by name, the two girls panicked. Hey, again, really? Ignoring their dismay, Dane was excited. Anyway, we have to show Korea what a real villain is and who the real hero is. He vowed silently. Wait, Stardust, I'll bring you back to the top. Elsewhere, the one being awaited, Shin Haru, was thoroughly satisfied, enjoying a delicious mango frappe. When she looked up, she saw the cherry blossoms outside in full bloom. The scenery was romantic, but the echoed remarks of others kept ringing in her head. Acting like such a great hero. Show up only after the job's done? He probably couldn't even catch that teleporter. Recalling those words, Haru could only sigh as countless negative thoughts swept through her mind. People are still fanatic about Ego's Tick, the murderer, more than the hero who deals in suspended sentences. I did my best. Why am I still being criticized like this? Not wanting to sink into negativity, Haru lightly slapped her cheek to pull herself together. At that moment, a familiar voice called out, Haru, why are you slapping your own face? Hearing that voice, she snapped back to attention and saw Kim Chae-hyun sit down gently beside her. Haru was moved, and Chae-hyun smiled at her junior. The weather's beautiful. Let's rest a bit. Invited like that, Haru didn't hesitate to agree. By the way, since when did the cherry blossoms bloom like this? Kim Chae-hyun happily pulled out her phone. Oh right, do you want to see this? It's trending now, though Haru probably hasn't seen it. She showed a bouncing mango image. What do you think, funny? I find it really appealing these days. Seeing that image, Haru gritted her teeth, resentful. Even Senior Chae-hyun likes him? Scrolling her phone, she suddenly noticed something. Huh, what's this? Kim Chae-hyun turned the screen. Haru, Ego's Tick is live right now. Haru, surprised. Really? As soon as she grabbed the phone, a familiar voice rang out. Ego's Tick is targeting Stardust this time. Immediately, she headed back to the association and dispatched to the scene. As the announcement ended, Shin Haru slammed the table and stood. Chae-hyun, I have an urgent matter. I'll go ahead. Sorry. Saying that, she dashed out of the cafe, leaving Chae-hyun staring in surprise. Huh? Haru? Running? Shin Haru vowed. Wait, Gostic, this time I'll definitely catch you. At the same time, on a high cliff, a familiar screen lit up and a Gostic's voice echoed. Long time no see. Hello everyone, I'm the villain Ego's Tick. After introducing himself, he eagerly watched the comments scrolling across the screen. How will people react? It's crazy, they treat this like a live, dramatic event. Not wasting time, Ego's Tick picked up his phone and joked. There's been a lot of news about me lately. Huh? I'm not a hero. I'm a villain, and I even have a fan club. He flashed a sly smile while angling the phone down toward the tracks below. Maybe everyone has it wrong? I'm the villain, you know. He pointed to the hostages and then toward the oncoming train. Ah, the train is about to enter the station. Stardust, are you watching? A comment popped up. He's still a diehard Stardust fan, huh? Unfazed, Ego's Tick began to announce the rules, raising the pressure. The rule is simple, choose. Leave the lever and save one person instead of 5, or sacrifice one to save the many. Pulling the lever will cause someone to die. Remember, if you try to pull this person off the track, I'll flip the train. Understand? When the rules were finished, he urged, your choice is only one, pull the lever. No sooner had he finished than Stardust appeared, angrily shouting, You bastard Ego's Tick. She plunged down below and stood on the railhead. He smiled with satisfaction. You're here, Stardust. Looking at the hostages, Stardust began to calculate. If she tried to save them, the passengers on the train would be in danger. How could she save everyone? Seeing her hesitance, Ego's Tick urged, Come on, the Pentagon train is entering the station. Which will our Stardust choose? The flood of comments only made Ego's Tick more pleased. Everyone expected Stardust to pull the lever, but I believe the Stardust I know isn't that kind of person. At that moment, Lai Subin panicked into her earpiece. Dane, she's running toward me. What should I do? Seeing Stardust hurtling forward, he reassured her. It's live, so mute the mic, don't worry. She won't hurt you. After the reassurance, Subin felt more confident. Yes, having stabilized the situation, Egostick unmuted and continued his villain act. What is Stardust doing? Don't be reckless. You'll be torn to pieces. Why would she rush into a suicide like that? Viewers debated loudly, but Stardust still charged straight at the train. She summoned all her strength to hold on, trying to encourage herself. Just hold on a little longer. Suddenly, the train's speed increased. Egostick, surprised. What's this? Is the train faster than usual? Noticing something was wrong, he frantically called, Subin! Subin! Wake up! But Subin had fainted and no longer responded, leaving Egostick distraught. I didn't anticipate this. Standing at the foot of the cliff, Egostick continued the psychological pressure. Come on, the Pentagon train is entering the station. What will Stardust choose? Though he was still acting on the surface, inwardly he only awaited the girl's decision below. What will the righteous girl do? Stardust was undergoing intense inner turmoil. After a moment of thought, she gritted her teeth and lunged straight at the train. Seeing this, Egostick was pleased and pressed down the brim of his hat. Good. Everything is going exactly to plan. Satisfied with the development, he carried a terrified, struggling girl closer to the tracks. When they arrived, Egostick gently placed the pale-faced girl on the rails and secured her with tape. Inside, he still complained, "Oh, this is tiring. If it weren't for Shadow Walker, doing this at night would have been easier." Daytime terror setups require attention to so many things. Despite the grumbling, he finished the final knot. With the hostage secured, Egostick teleported up the cliff to observe. Looking at the 5 people tied under the tracks, he silently took pride in his handiwork. The peaceful scene before him reminded him of the original plan. After this event, Stardust will be weakened but will grow stronger. If I eliminate the villains too early, she'll miss the chance to mature. Snapping out of his thoughts, he wrote a few familiar lines on the ground with his hand. After writing, Egostick grinned smugly and thought, consider this a special physical training ground just for her. Back in the present, seeing Stardust throw herself at the train, Egostick panicked and shouted, Wait, that's really dangerous. Stardust. The scene stirred a flurry of online discussion. Reading each comment, he felt both despair and smugness inside. Outwardly they claim it wasn't my intention, but in truth it was exactly what I intended. At that moment, Stardust rammed into the train's front, shattering the nose of the locomotive. Standing on the cliff, Egostick observed and analyzed. Her muscle strength and flight capability are still about 2% short. Though nearly A rank, stopping this train is beyond her ability. However, Egostick knew something others didn't realize. When faced with danger, Stardust's powers would erupt dramatically. Even as Stardust was pushed back, he was confident. She can totally stop this. With that fierce belief, the train's engine began to emit unusual noises. However, the train didn't slow. Instead, it accelerated even more. This phenomenon unnerved Egostick. Why is the train going even faster? He hurriedly called for backup, but Subin had long since fainted. Subin? Subin, wake up! Receiving no reply, Egostick fell into panic. I didn't prepare for this. The worst-case scenarios flashed through his mind like a film. If the people tied to the tracks died horribly, Stardust's heroic image would be destroyed. Just thinking that, Egostick grabbed his head and tore at his hair. What should I do? At the same time, the train drew close to the doomed girl's position. Realizing the emergency, Stardust gritted her teeth and pushed beyond her normal limits to stop the train. Even though the locomotive's front was shattered, it hadn't slowed. Standing above, Egostick could only silently beg, Please, please. As the distance between the train and the hostage closed, he could only pray. Then he witnessed a miracle. After all the effort, the train was finally stopped by Stardust, the entire moment captured on camera. Seeing the unbelievable scene, Egostick rejoiced. She stopped it. The danger is temporarily averted. Amid the chaos, he was filled with anticipation. Come on, show yourself. Stardust, will she be okay? The train was going so fast. Staring at the live phone screen, Egostick couldn't help but worry. Could she be dead? But at that moment, Stardust's familiar figure appeared. Seeing the girl he longed for safe, he couldn't hide his excitement. After cheering for a moment, remembering he was the villain, Egostick corrected himself. Oh no, she did stop it. She really held on? This isn't how my plan was supposed to go. Turning his gaze to the dazed Stardust, Ego's tick thought. She found her own way to resolve the dilemma. That statement set the live comments ablaze. Reading each line, his face lit up with excitement. That's it. The reaction should be like this. See? Brimming with pride, he praised Stardust relentlessly. This is the hero Stardust. Watch her power erupt from her desire to save others. After exerting all her strength, Stardust finally collapsed. Witnessing this, worry flooded Agostic's eyes. No longer caring about image, he jumped down to check on her. Coming close, he heard Stardust murmur reproachfully. You bastard. Though upset, she still focused on him. Ego's tick gently encouraged. It's okay. Stardust, you did very well, in a way I never imagined. This is your victory. After speaking, he brushed her eyes to let her rest and instructed. I'm leaving now, rest well. Another hero will arrive to help you soon. To let Stardust rest, Ego's tick stood, took off his hat in a show of mourning. Yes, my terror act ends here. Thank you for watching. After those words, the live stream screen went black. A shocking comment rang out. Those two. What's with that ambiguous atmosphere? The next morning at the secret base, Han Seo burst around full of energy calling. Wake up, you sleepyheads Kim Dane and Lai Subin. After yesterday's event, both of them were exhausted. Oh my god, we're dead. Good morning. Seeing them like that, Han Seo could only shake her head. Just one terror incident and everyone looked so drained, not scolding them. The girl pointed to the spread of hot dishes and invited. Come on, look at all this hot food. Their eyes lit up. Seo, did you prepare these dishes? Dane ruffled Han Seo's hair and praised. Thank you. The girl shyly pinched his waist. Lai Subin also urged. Eat quickly, it's getting cold. The three of them sat down at the table and happily enjoyed breakfast. While everyone focused on eating, Han Seo noticed the remote nearby, grabbed it and ran to the sofa to watch TV. Let's see how yesterday's deeds made the news. The next report played. Dane ate with an unfazed smugness. His villain image had completely changed. Of course, Stardust also became famous, 2 birds with 1 stone. At that moment, Han Seo burst into a mysterious laugh. What is it? She pointed at the screen, eyes shining. They're saying you two are dating. The anchor's commentary rang out. This follows A-rank hero Stardust stopping the train yesterday. First, please pay attention to this photo. The moment Kim Dane stroked Stardust's eyes to let her rest appeared. The anchor continued. Look here, you can see the villain and the hero almost like lovers. Elsewhere, Shin Haru, Stardust, watched the report, barely able to contain her anger, and crushed the glass in her hand. And Kim Dane, seeing that on TV, was also frightened. What the hell is this? The host continued. In Korea right now, the most beloved villain is Ego's tick, and the rising newcomer is hero Stardust. The dating rumor between them is really heating up. Reporter Park was asked for his view. Pointing at the screen, he said, Look here, do you recognize this? Yes, this is a line with Stardust's name. Reporter Park slammed his hand on the table and shouted, No, it's not just a line. It's a message to Stardust. It's a gift from him to her. That's the meaning. Then the screen showed Kim Dane kneeling beside the unconscious Shin Haru, saying, All right, Stardust, you did very well in a way I never imagined. This is your victory. Pointing at that scene, Reporter Park asserted, Look closely. If this isn't love, what is it? When Ego's tick spoke his last words and closed Stardust's eyes, she quietly fell asleep. He emphasized, If those two aren't dating, then what do you call it? Elsewhere, Shin Haru sat alone in the study room, silently watching the discussion, a flood of emotions welling up. Exai and Haru sat dazed, chin on her hand, mood dark, wondering, is everyone out of their minds? Who would spread a dating rumor with that crazy villain's name? Absolutely never. She thought quietly for a moment and asked herself, why is this happening? Clearly in her heart there was only hatred and loathing for that man. Yet across that boundary a strange feeling had intruded. Just as Exai and Haru sat gloomily murmuring, Kim Chae-hyun approached. With a sympathetic look, Haru, your spirit seems drained from all the studying. Saying that, Chae-hyun took out a flyer for ice cream and smiled invitingly. Let me heal you today. Chae-hyun tossed the flyer aside, eyes sparkling with feeling. Trust me today. Let's go out and have fun. Elsewhere, in the 3-person house, whining sounds rang non-stop. Han Seo-yu rolled on the floor, throwing a tantrum and screaming, "Go! Go! I really want to go." Lee Subin shook her head in exasperation. "Seo, don't be so whiny." But Han Seo, you wouldn't stop. "We've terrorized twice already, and now I want to go play board games." At that, Kim Dane spoke up. "Miss Subin, Seo, how about we go out today?" At the sound of that, Han Seo leapt up, no longer whining but joyfully shouting in celebration. Lee Subin also smiled. Kim Dane held the flyer for the ice cream festival, identical to the one Kim Chae-hyun had earlier, thinking to himself, "This detail isn't in the original, but it's probably fine, right?" On Exyon Haru's side, her mood also gradually improved. She even began to look forward to the upcoming ice cream festival. The ice cream festival was crowded, the scene full of life. Kim Dane remarked, "Wow, even on an ordinary weekday afternoon it's packed." Han Seo, holding a cone beside him, asked puzzled, "Hey, why are you wearing black again?" Kim Dane laughed. "Seo, men have to wear black." Han Seo snorted. "You're talking nonsense." Kim Dane was surprised, thinking, "She's smiling so brightly today. She even called me brother. She must really be happy." Suddenly Han Seo shouted, pointing ahead, "Oh, rice ice cream." Having said that, she excitedly ran to the ice cream counter. Kim Dane smiled at Lee Subin. "Going out was totally worth it, right?" Subin replied happily, "Yeah, she looks really happy." She also activated a perception reduction filter that only she could detect. When recruited by Kim Dane, she had appeared in public once already. Kim Dane tasted a spoonful of ice cream and, surprised, exclaimed, "Oh, it's really good." He scooped another spoon and offered it to Subin. "Subin, you should try it too." Lee Subin blushed, shyly looking at the spoon of ice cream Kim Dane held out. Han Seo stood by curiously. "What's wrong, sis? Eat it already." Subin, flustered, Wait for me a moment." She, embarrassed with her mouth open, slowly leaned toward the spoon, thinking, "Isn't this an indirect kiss?" Finally Subin tasted it too, her face full of enjoyment. "It's really delicious." After finishing her cone, Han Seo happily ran to another stall. "Look, mango ice cream." Kim Dane hurried after her. "Hey, wait for me." Han Seo, eyes shining, stared at the ice cream through the glass and excitedly told the vendor, "Give me one ice cream cone." The vendor, scooping the ice cream, smiled and turned to Kim Dane. "Oh my, this kid looks just like her parents. So adorable." Kim Dane was left speechless, only managing an awkward smile. Yeah." Lee Subin stood beside him, her face flushed. Han Seo turned back smiling, teasing softly, "You look older than your age, don't you?" Kim Dane retorted, "No, it's because of your height, not me." Han Seo couldn't argue and snorted. The vendor handed over the ice cream. "Here's the kid's cone, and 2 cups." The three received their ice cream. Kim Dane laughed and asked Han Seo, "You ordered for us too?" The girl answered, "If you're the leader of the Pentagon Club, of course you must get mango." Kim Dane was stunned by this new identity. The Pentagon Club, seeing the vendor smile, he didn't know where to hide his face and could only reply sheepishly, It's nothing." Suddenly, Kim Dane's eyes widened when he saw the vendor proudly showing a shirt printed with his image as Ego's tick. The vendor grinned. "I made it myself. Looks good, right?" Kim Dane didn't know how to respond. Han Seo generously gave a thumbs up. Absolutely cinematic. A little while later, the three sat on a bench, eating ice cream and relaxing. Suddenly Kim Dane saw the dart-throwing booth. He asked Han Seo, "Say, did you know I used to be a dart master? Let me show you my skill." Han Seo doubted. "Hey, are you planning to cheat using your remote control ability?" Kim Dane froze and could only give an awkward smile. The staff at the dart booth announced, "There's an event. If you hit the target 10 times in a row, you'll win a tiered ice cream." Han Seo preferred the second prize instead. "That stuffed bear is way cuter," Kim Dane asked. "But first prize lets you choose freely, right?" The staff nodded. "Yes, you can choose freely," Kim Dane confidently promised. "Hear that? I'll get that stuffed bear for you." He pretended to concentrate, then discreetly used his power when no one was looking. At that moment, Kim Chae-hyun also came to the dart booth and asked the staff, "How much is one try?" Her appearance caught Kim Dane's attention. He thought, this person looks familiar. A few seconds later, he suddenly realized, Kim Chae-hyun, Xian Haru's senior from university, Kim Chae-hyun exclaimed. Wow, Haru. The prize even has a 10-tier ice cream. Another female voice called out. Let me try to get one for you. It was Han Seo-yu. Seeing Kim Dane standing there absent-mindedly, she asked, What are you doing? Throw already. At this, Lubin and Han Seo-yu also noticed Xian Haru's arrival. The three of them broke into a cold sweat, none daring to make a sound. Xian Haru glanced over, her gaze landing on Kim Dane. He remained frozen in the stance, ready to throw the dart. Kim Chae-hyun beamed, pointing ahead. Haru, there's rice flour ice cream over there. The two of them went to the ice cream shop together. Kim Chae-hyun delightedly savored the flavor, exclaiming, It's so delicious. In a cheerful mood, she turned to Xian Haru. Haru, try this. Xian Haru leaned forward and gently tasted it. Her cheeks flushed and her eyes lit up. It's really good. Kim Chae-hyun held the tub of ice cream, smiling with satisfaction. Finally, your expression has relaxed. Haru seemed drawn by something. Kim Chae-hyun took Xian Haru's hand, full of feeling. Let's go. There's the flavor Haru likes the most over there. She pointed to the food stall, emphasizing, It's mango flavor. Hurry and try it. Seeing the mango ice cream, Xian Haru's eyes glittered with extreme delight. But shortly after, her mood turned gloomy and she lowered her head. The vendor happily turned, revealing on his back a shirt printed with his own face, cheerfully boasting. I made it myself. Kim Chae-hyun approvingly praised. Oh my, it's so cute. The two girls rested under a cherry blossom tree, enjoying the cool breeze. Kim Chae-hyun stretched and said comfortably, I really like this. She turned to Xian Haru. You like it too, right? From sadness, Xian Haru broke into a positive smile. Of course, sis. She closed her eyes, enjoying the peaceful moment beneath the gently falling cherry blossoms. Kim Chae-hyun pointed to the food stall in front of them. Haru, once you finish that, let's go try that one. Xian Haru watched her closely, seeing her excitement, and replied, Darts? Sounds fun, doesn't it? Multicolored balloons were decorating the stall's roof. A friendly attendant handed over the darting equipment and announced, There's an event. If you hit the target 10 times, you'll win a 10-tier ice cream. Xian Haru replied softly, Yes, please. Her blue eyes swept over the three people breaking out in a cold sweat, and she thought to herself, They look like a young couple, but why is the girl's hair silver? Maybe she's their granddaughter. She stared at Kim Dane for a long moment, a vague sense of familiarity welling up inside her. Before she could think further, Kim Chae-hyun cheered. Haru, give it a try. Xian Haru quickly agreed. Oh yes, she threw the dart, a brilliant orange streak shooting through the air. Kim Chae-hyun excitedly cried. It hit the target. Kim Dane watched that scene, sweat pouring down his face, and thought inwardly about Stardust's strength and superhuman ability, paying more and more attention to her. So Xian Haru kept hitting the darts repeatedly, demonstrating superior physical ability. Cheers rang out non-stop. That's 2 hits. Kim Dane hung his head, a bit disappointed, thinking her current power could erupt even more in the future. Xian Haru happily continued throwing darts, her senses sharply honed. This made her quickly realize that if she revealed her identity here, the image of Shin Haru as a superhero would form in Kim Dane's mind, and he might lock her up. Afterwards, Xian Haru and Kim Chae-hyun hugged each other in joy, sending Kim Dane sprawling. One of Xian Haru's darts flew fast and popped a balloon. Kim Chae-hyun praised, Haru, you're amazing. You hit several times already. Xian Haru modestly replied, It's nothing, just a small thing. The attendant happily handed the two women the 10-tier ice cream. 10-tier ice cream? Coming right up. The attendant turned to Kim Dane. Hey, sir, aren't you going to throw? He blankly answered. Someone over there is so skilled I couldn't stop watching. I'll throw now. Kim Dane looked at Han Seo-yu and forced a smile. Seo-yu, look, I'll show you my dart technique. The girl cheered but remained skeptical. Hurry up. Kim Dane held 10 darts, anxious, thinking he wouldn't need his power, just toss a few and slip away. But he threw 10 in a row and all hit the balloons, leaving everyone stunned, mouths agape. Kim Chae-hyun held the 10-tier ice cream stick, surprised as she looked at him. This customer is amazingly good too. The attendant brought out a stuffed bear. You prefer the bear, right? Here, the bear is ready. But Kim Dane chose to make a quick retreat. The attendant raised a hand to stop them. Wait. Hold on. The three of them hurriedly ran off, laughing awkwardly. It's okay. We're leaving. Han Seo-yu chimed in. Yeah. Let's go. Kim Chae-hyun, holding the 10-tier ice cream, smiled brightly. We'll carry it over to Haru for you. Exine Haru took the stuffed bear and turned. Yes, but halfway there the ice cream was too tall, it got caught and all the sticks toppled. The colorful layers of ice cream tumbled toward Kim Dane. He panicked, thinking that even a little contact would turn him into a mess. Eyes wide, mouth agape. He was determined to avoid it at all costs. Kim Dane's mind raced. He darted aside to avoid the sticky ice cream and then tumbled to the ground. Everyone rushed over in alarm. Han Seo-yu called out anxiously. Sir, Exine Haru, full of remorse, gaped and asked, Are you okay? Kim Chae-hyun also looked worried, covering her mouth as she looked at him. Kim Dane hurriedly reassured them. I'm fine, really, no need to worry. He slowly stood up, rubbing his neck and smiling awkwardly. I just overreacted a bit, just dodged it and it's fine. Come on, let's move on. Lubin, feeling uneasy, urged. What are you thinking? Please hurry. If this continues, we'll all die. Sweat running down Kim Dane's face. He was about to speak when a dark, ominous smoke rolled in from behind. Hurry and get out. Jin Haru and Kim Dane turned to look and saw the sky turn red, the black-gray smoke sending people into panicked flight. The sharp fangs of a blue-furred crocodile appeared. It puffed itself up and roared. Stardust, Stardust, come out here. A system notice announced. Crocodile Villain Level A. Kim Dane immediately grabbed Han Seo-yu and Lubin, making Lubin a bit embarrassed. You two stay right here. With sharp eyes, Kim Dane calculated. According to the original script, this guy shouldn't appear yet, so why is he active now? Exine Haru also assessed the situation and rushed unexpectedly toward Kim Chae-hyun. Pain surged, and Kim Dane gritted his teeth. Running back to the association to get a perception-reducing filter now would take too long. He recalled that, in the original story, if Stardust's face is revealed, it marks the beginning of misfortune and decline. The image of a blonde woman covering her face flashed before him. He resolved, I won't let that happen, even if the sky falls. Kim Dane shouted, and violet beams of light enveloped his body, growing ever stronger. His everyday clothes fell away, replaced by a suit and a stylish hat. He said, I'll tidy up my things later. Han Seo-yu stood behind, confused. What are you planning to do? Soon after, Kim Dane ordered Han Seo-yu to help broadcast for him. Han Seo-yu, holding the stuffed bear awkwardly, mumbled. Mr. Dane, the crocodile rampaged, tearing everything apart and bellowing. Stardust, if you don't show up, I'll destroy everything. Its eyes gleamed as a broadcast echoed. Hello, dear viewers. The black speakers projected the sound far and wide. Kim Dane took the microphone, flashed his teeth in a grin, and declared, the true evil of this era, the common enemy of the Republic of Korea, ego's tick. His voice echoed everywhere. How dare you trespass on my territory, you little crocodile? The crocodile angrily replied. What? Online forums erupted with chatter. Ego's tick, Gostic, Gostic, he's appeared again. One person exclaimed, Oh my God, it's him again? Another account commented, claiming to be the common enemy. Someone else wondered, wasn't he a hero before? I don't get it. Everyone was excited. Some joked, looks like an electric music festival. Kim Dane's cold face appeared. He glanced down and quietly said, Now you will die here. In a large corporate building 3 years earlier, in the association lecture hall, a middle-aged man stood before the trainees pointing at a modern machine, what we call a perception-reducing filter or simply a filter. He explained, when you pass through this device, a filter is applied to your face that disrupts viewers' recognition. But if you reveal your face to someone who already knows you, the filter won't work. Do you understand? Everyone replied in unison. Yes, he emphasized seriously. Even a fool knows how dangerous it is for a hero to reveal their face. Your career and life could be ruined. Remember that well. Exine Haru, sitting below at the time, shouted firmly. Yes, back in the present, the streets lay desolate, shrouded in dust and smoke. Kim Chae-hyun and Shin Haru hid by the roadside. Haru worriedly thought, it's too late to go back to headquarters for a filter. What should I do? Jean Haru clenched her hands, looked at the panicked crowd, and thought, in this situation, am I a hero just to run away? She untied her hairband, her golden hair fluttering, eyes resolute. She gripped his hand and stepped forward. No! Kim Chae-hyun cried out in alarm. Haru! A crowd staring at their phones cheered. Gostik! Gostik is here! Exan Haru heard and froze. What? She murmured. The true villain of this era, the common enemy of the Republic of Korea, Ego's tick. At that moment, Kim Dane stood on the building's rooftop beside two giant speakers blasting music. Below was the blue crocodile monster. He shouted, "How dare you trespass on my territory, you little crocodile?" The crocodile replied in surprise. What? Kim Dane smiled coldly and pointed at the crocodile. Now you will die here. He held the microphone, telling himself, no, absolutely must not let Stardust's face be revealed. He yelled into the crocodile's face. Do you understand that? You crocodile. The monster also shouted back, confronting Kim Dane. Bastard, acting cozy with Stardust. Aren't you egoistic? Suddenly, the crocodile sprang and lunged toward Kim Dane at high speed. He said, hey, why keep bringing up Stardust? Online comments showed, Stardust fangirls are here. Hey, crocodile. The crocodile charged at Kim Dane with an angry expression. Roaring, I will kill you. It quickly latched onto the building wall and used its strength to climb up to the rooftop where Kim Dane stood. As soon as it reached the top, it looked ferocious and shouted, come here to me. Seeing this, Kim Dane used teleportation, stepping back to dodge. The crocodile kept rushing forward, but Kim Dane teleported to appear right above it, gleefully saying, what are you doing, you jerk? You know my name but didn't know I can teleport? Taken by surprise, the crocodile flinched, wildly flailing its limbs to strike Kim Dane. But each time it missed because he teleported constantly before its eyes. It angrily roared, you bloody mosquito poker, fight me properly one-on-one. Kim Dane replied calmly, hey, I'm a villain. Under the comments, everyone laughed. A villain who has to keep insisting he's a villain. Seeing that comment, Kim Dane was also baffled. Comments continued, but why did Yastik run over here? Kim Dane thought, wait, I need to explain or people will think I came because of Stardust. Suddenly he stopped and shouted at the crocodile. Wait, listen to me, the crocodile answered. Fine, hurry up and say it. Kim Dane questioned. But first I have to ask this. Why did you attack me? The crocodile didn't hesitate. That's obvious. I targeted Stardust and you clearly care a lot about Stardust, so you're my enemy. Hearing that, Kim Dane froze, thinking, what the hell? What kind of logic is that? Comments buzzed again. That stupid villain even knows Ego's tick likes Stardust. Don't know he can teleport, only know he likes Stardust. Two guys fighting over one girl. Is Ego's tick replacing Stardust or what? Suddenly the crocodile pointed at Kim Dane and shouted. Also, you said you'd kill me first. Kim Dane froze. When did I say that? The crocodile grew even angrier, its fury flaring like fire. You said you dared to touch my territory. You little crocodile. Threatened to kill me right here. Didn't you say that? Kim Dane hastily tried to explain. I didn't say that. Comments popped up again. Why is the crocodile suddenly talking sweetly? What kind of threat is that? At that moment the crocodile seemed to reach its limit, screaming madly. I'm really losing my mind. It opened its huge mouth, and a blazing red fireball began to form. Kim Dane saw this and panicked, thinking, wait, isn't that an ultimate skill? Before he could finish thinking, a massive flame shot from the crocodile's mouth, incinerating everything ahead. Crocodemon used his ultimate technique, spewing an intense blaze. Fortunately, Kim Dane teleported in time, avoiding the fatal strike, and appeared behind the crocodile, panting in horror. One hit and I'm toast. The crocodile turned, sneering, surprised. Yastik? Without hesitation, Kim Dane flourished a black cloth. Instantly countless guns sprang from it and lunged at the crocodile. With cold eyes he clenched his fist. See you in hell, you bastard. All the guns opened fire at once toward the crocodile. After a series of explosions and choking smoke, Kim Dane flew up to survey. Did we take him out yet? Excited comments. After all that shooting, the crocodile's still alive? Just then the crocodile burst out of the smoke, roaring. Do you think a few bullets can do anything to my body? Suddenly, Kim Dane's mask fell off right in front of the livestream screen. He quickly teleported away from the phone, pulled out a gas mask, and looked down from above. No, I had to do that to catch you off guard. Immediately after, Kim Dane threw an unidentified object toward the crocodile. The crocodile sneered, opened its mouth and swallowed it whole, screaming, "You filthy mosquito poker!" Instantly, a powerful light burst from the crocodile's mouth. Its body convulsed from electric shock, jolting in pain as golden sparks flashed around it. Hey, in the original story, Stardust suffered because of your thick hide. Did you think I didn't know? Think I'm unprepared? After the strike, the crocodile was covered in blood and staggered, then collapsed unconscious. Comments kept appearing. Bring Gostic. Demand the association designate Gostic as a hero now. Yet he keeps calling himself a villain. At this point, the powerless guns clattered down to the ground, and Kim Dane slowly landed on the rooftop, gathering the guns with a tired, trembling demeanor. He looked up at the sky and complained, "Damn, that took too much energy. Tried to look cool, but I'm out of stamina. My hands are shaking holding this phone." Suddenly remembering the phone was still live streaming, Kim Dane glanced at the comments. "So you came here to clean up villains?" Kim Dane flustered and explained wildly, Right. Oh no, everyone. I came because I hate that crocodile. Don't think I acted for Stardust or for the public good." Comments displayed, "Whatever you say fits." Suddenly, a golden light flew in from nowhere and landed on the rooftop where Kim Dane stood. Turned out to be Shin Haru. She slowly rose after a spectacular landing, approached Kim Dane and demanded, "Did you take that guy down?" Kim Dane calmly replied, "Yeah, he was blocking the way, so I dealt with him." Shin Haru, hearing that, was somewhat suspicious. She looked at Kim Dane coldly and asked, "Why?" Kim Dane shrugged and replied casually, "What's it to you? He kept yelling that me and Stardust were all cutesy and ambiguous, and it annoyed me." Shin Haru gasped. "What?" Kim Dane put on his earbuds, looked at Shin Haru, and smiled as he continued to speak. Stardust, next time something like today happens, don't just reveal your face and show off. Once your face is exposed, your life will be very hard." Shin Haru stared at Kim Dane in sudden bewilderment. He turned to his phone and said, "All right, that's the end of today's broadcast. That was so unexpected. I'm exhausted. There's a big event next month. Everyone tune in." Comment shown. What were those two saying on stream when they cut the mic? Immediately after, Kim Dane vanished in a flash of light, saying, "Goodbye." Seeing that, Shin Haru reached out, her expression a little sad. At that moment, Kim Dane had already teleported home. Suddenly, blood began to spurt from his mouth. Kim Dane's face was expressionless, looking soulless. Hansel and Subin, seeing this, rushed over in panic with worried faces, shouting, "Hey, Dane!" Kim Dane had collapsed to the ground. On the rooftop, Shin Haru picked up Kim Dane's mask. She examined it and wondered, how did he know my thoughts? Who exactly is he? Shin Haru sat in front of her computer watching the news. Two breaking stories from KBS News were on the screen. Exclusive, chaos at the festival. A-class villain Crocodile has been captured, subdued by Egostick and transferred to the Eastern Heroes detention camp. The building was destroyed by the crocodile 4 hours ago. Egostick was faster than everyone. Is A-class villain Egostick really a villain, or what is he? Searching Egostick returns about 2030 results in 0.45 seconds. Official fan club Egostick Mango Stick, Mang Stick Society Hero Portal. One comment. Is Mang Stick a god? Another. Lately Manglestick seems better than these so-called heroes. Just before the praise, the account was banned for a month for supporting a villain. Why doesn't anyone do that anymore? Shin Haru held her head in exasperation. Then she suddenly saw a comment. What are heroes even doing today? Mango Stick walks the streets and the fandom cheers blindly. If Korea keeps going like this. Below it was a comment with Dane's humorous icon. Great. Isn't it? Shin Haru exclaimed. Damn it. She lay back on the bed, closed her eyes, and thought she was the only one who didn't like Egostick. She remembered the ice cream seller showing off his Mang Society shirt excitedly. I made this myself. Chae-hun next to him praised. Oh, it's so cute. Then she recalled Kim Dane warning her. Stardust, next time something happens, don't just show your face and make a spectacle of it. Shin Haru agonized over that remark. Could everyone else be right and only I be wrong? Meanwhile, Subin and Seo, you were standing in front of a glass enclosure. Dane was lying inside it, Seo, you couldn't stop being angry about that Stardust girl. Suddenly a sound made the girl freeze. Kim Dane opened his eyes, tapped on the glass and asked, "Why are you all crying?" The two of them looked at him anxiously. Seo Yu immediately rushed in and hugged him, crying loudly. Seeing that, Kim Dane reassured, "It's okay. It's okay." Eventually he recovered and had dinner with everyone. He couldn't believe he'd been unconscious for 3 days. Looking back, it was from overusing his teleportation and supporting his body with external energy. It was truly exhausting. Seo Yu spoke up. "From now on you have to take care of your body properly. Okay?" Kim Dane hurriedly promised. "All right, I'll do that." He looked at the girl cheerfully, thinking, "After all, this kid even cried for me. Hanging out with her seems to be working." Over on the other side, Subin asked worriedly, "You're fine then, why did you rush off like that? People thought you were a hero." Seo Yu agreed, questioning, "Exactly, I don't get it. She keeps going on about villains this and that." Kim Dane replied calmly, "If I hadn't stepped in, Stardust would have." The girl still didn't understand. "So what?" Kim Dane explained, making Seo Yu freeze. "It's dangerous. If that situation happens when a hero's identity is exposed, their personal information will be fully leaked. Then what? Vengeful villains or other bad actors will track down and kill the hero." Seo Yu still didn't see the importance. "How does that concern me?" Kim Dane patiently. "Seo Yu, the world we live in is an off-kilter system, a skew between good and evil. Most heroes don't follow the heroic path, they choose the villain path. The rewards for fighting are too small and they're constantly harassed, so instead of suffering as heroes, many choose to be villains to live more easily." He concluded, "In South Korea alone, A-rank heroes are only Stardust, Ice, and Shadow Walker, just 3 people. But A-rank villains are everywhere, aren't they?" Hearing that, Seo Yu could only sigh. "So that's why you plan to wipe out villains on their behalf." "What? A dark hero, sure, but how does that involve us?" Kim Dane scratched his head. "Awkward. Not that extreme. I'm just a bit concerned about Korea's fate." Scene shifts to an airplane flying in the sky. Everyone on the flight is relaxed, unaware of what's about to happen. Suddenly the plane loses power. Passengers bewildered. A joking passenger says, "Look, with the lights off the stars are clearer. Feels like a vacation." The screen on the plane suddenly lights up. It displays the words "The Ego." A voice echoes through the cabin. "Welcome back, everyone. This is the greatest puzzle in the sky at 25,000 feet. No, call it the greatest quiz show in the air. Welcome to the Ego Show." An angry passenger shouts, "Flight attendant, what's going on?" Kim Dane continues announcing, "Oh right, of course the plane you're on already has a bomb installed." A bomb appears on the screen. Passengers panic and scream. Kim Dane grins slyly. "Now, let the game begin." Scene shifts to the hero's headquarters. Exion Haru rushes into the room, asking, "How long has it been since the incident started?" The association president replies trembling, "Even if you go, you might not be able to do anything in time." His words anger her. She bangs the table. "Is that what the association president says? I have to go immediately." He turns and says, "I didn't say don't go. It's just really difficult during the day." Suddenly, someone enters. Exion Haru beams and exclaims, "Kim Chae-hun." The newcomer is Kim Chae-hun, A-rank hero Shadow Walker, King of the Night. He tells the president, "Hurry to the airport, then go rest. This kind of battle is too much for me." He advises, "Don't overdo it, we can't save everyone." Shadow Walker activates his power, and Exion Haru replies, "I'll remember that." As she steps closer to Shadow Walker, the two are enveloped by a dark energy. They instantly teleport to the scene. Exion Haru rushes off quickly, not forgetting to thank him. "Thanks for your effort." Shadow Walker covers his mouth and collapses on the stairs, nearly fainting. Exion Haru rushes outside. She looked up at the sky in horror. Her legs suddenly froze. Despair showed on her face. How can this be stopped? Before her, a plane was burning in midair. Cut to 1 year earlier. In a building, villains gathered, all turning toward the one seated above them. He said, "The day we put all of Seoul, all of the Republic of Korea under our boot is not far off." He was 1000, a rank 5 villain, smiling with glee. Suddenly a voice rang out. "Humph, but I see it differently. Who are they wary of?" Shadow Walker appeared in the corner of the room and replied, "The hero." The rookie A-rank hero Shadow Walker, King of the Night, crossed his arms and coolly said, "You agents of evil, A villain named Nuzin stepped forward, swaggering. "Hey kid, do you know whose territory this is?" One henchman wondered. "How did he get in here?" Shadow Walker fell silent, his gaze fierce. Nidal Thousand lunged forward, throwing a punch, shouting, "This is my territory, Nidal thus." A surge of power rushed toward Shadow Walker, but he remained standing still. The punch halted when it struck Shadow Walker, leaving Nidal thus in disbelief. He and his henchmen looked around in astonishment, not understanding where they had gone. Suddenly, the shadow beneath his feet rose up. It swallowed him into another dimension. The remaining henchmen quickly suffered the same fate. Nidal thus immediately surrounded himself with power, cautioning, "Don't be reckless, he's no ordinary foe." Shadow Walker's night power crept onto his shoulders. Shadow Walker appeared behind him, but Nidal thus, somewhat skilled, unleashed spiky power from his back toward Shadow Walker. He smugly turned and said, "This brat dares bare his claws at me?" However, as he turned, Shadow Walker had vanished from his sight, causing Nidal thus to panic. Suddenly, with blood-red eyes, Shadow Walker appeared behind him and asked, "Hey Porcupine, earlier you said this was your territory, right?" He reached out, gray energy surging. "Sorry, this place has become my territory." A dark hand rose from the shadows, enveloping and swallowing Nidal Thousand into another dimension. Recalling that scene, Shadow Walker lay collapsed on the stairs, panting, muttering, "I'm probably dead." All the while, Kim Dane had been monitoring the entire encounter between Exion Haru and the King of Night. He thought to himself, "All right, the main character has stepped onto the stage." He grinned slyly and spoke into the mic. "Now, let's move on to the final dramatic puzzle. Shall we begin?" Everyone on the plane clutched their phones, praying in despair. A man broke into a sweat, his eyes dazed. Memories flashed back to 30 minutes earlier, when everyone was still panicked and afraid. Suddenly, a piercing sound rang out, along with an image of Kim Dane appearing on the screen. Everyone held their breath, not daring to make a sound. At that moment, he spoke. "Now, before we start the game, I'll announce the rules. Please turn on your phones and disable airplane mode." Immediately after, a message was sent to everyone. The Ego Sai meaningless quiz. There are 10 questions in total. If even one person answers all questions correctly, the bomb will be disarmed. But if no one answers a single question correctly, everyone will be wiped out. Send your answers to this number. Ready? Yes. Kim Dane continued to emphasize. From now on, complete silence, no cheating, no discussion. Clear? Any sound and you're immediately disqualified. Question 1 appeared. How many people can Titanic's lifeboat hold? 59 seconds countdown. A woman tried to glance at the answer beside her and was immediately announced by Kim Dane. The woman who just cheated is disqualified. She cried out in panic, and Kim Dane stressed again. She made a sound just now, right? She's disqualified. Then the uncle next to her who tried to answer for her is disqualified too. Live viewers commented animatedly. Truly a hellish quiz show. Someone even wondered, who said Mangle Stick is a hero? This is terrifying. When the timer hit 0, Kim Dane announced, "Too easy, right? The answer to question 1 is 9 people. Why?" He slapped his thigh in glee and laughed. "Because it is." "Save yourself?" Everyone fell silent. He smugly asked, "Feeling good?" On the big screen, a seating chart of everyone appeared, and Kim Dane reported, "More than half have been eliminated. This is only the beginning and it's already chaos? You people should be more tense. Now then, try harder." Next question. Time passed, and the number of eliminated people kept rising. Those who passed the question breathed a sigh of relief, while the others clasped their hands and prayed. Finally, only a single person remained for the final question. Kim Dane said, "Well, you're at the breaking point, aren't you?" He looked at the screen, saw Exion Haru approaching, and thought to himself, "Good." Then he extended the time and said, "Since this is the final round, let's do a bit of an interview to see how you feel. Everyone's lives hinge on one word. Mr. Kim Dok Bae from Bang Baedong, you're the last one left. How do you feel?" The man named panicked. "Ah, that's really a responsibility," Kim Dane teased. "Why like this? I told you what would happen if a sound came out." Everyone was bewildered, but Kim Dane said, "Oh dear, it's the last line anyway. So a small mistake like this can be forgiven, right? Isn't that so, everyone? But I don't like it that way." Taka. After finishing, that man was also eliminated. The plane shook violently, and people screamed in panic. The plane caught fire and plunged into the sea. Kim Dane smiled smugly. Now this performance is ready. It's time for the hero to appear. Stardust. However, Exion Haru was horrified at the sight. Her face showed despair, not knowing how to save everyone. She looked up at the object exploding in the sky and sighed deeply. What should I do now? The association president on the other end answered curtly. What else can we do? Drop it. I'm busy drafting a response to the criticism right now. Damn it, now it's the president's phone, I have to hang up. Exion Haru's hands clenched in anger. Then she collapsed in helplessness. She thought, I thought I had stopped a 100 kilometers per hour vehicle, so is my current strength still not enough? Damn it, what should I do? Suddenly Jean Haru seemed to recall some memory from the past. In that desperate situation, the helpless girl cried profusely over the pain of losing loved ones. Mother, father, I will kill him at any cost. That girl once held the bodies of her relatives in a dark alley, pounding the ground with her fists and creating a crack. She gritted her teeth in resentment, blaming herself. It was like this then. It's like this now. I couldn't save anyone. Suddenly, a connection signal appeared in the earpiece. To her surprise, the voice on the other end spoke. Hello, Ms. Stardust, this is Egostick. Elsewhere, Kim Dane stretched and yawned. This terrorist wave is remote-controlled, so it seems easier to handle. Hansel was typing when he suddenly called out tensely, Hey, Kim Dane, look over here. Yes? Hansel turned and pointed at the screen, smiling. That's Stardust. No, Sister Stardust is frozen standing on the ground over there. Kim Dane's eyes widened in surprise. Then he suddenly jumped up excitedly and shouted, startling Hansel. What's wrong? Stardust. The image on the screen showed Shin Haru concentrating and listening to her earpiece. Kim Dane immediately asked the girl, Cell, can you connect to the in-ear earpiece that Stardust is wearing? Hansel quickly operated the keyboard and said, Connected, but why are you rushing me? Kim Dane replied, There's no time. Hurry up. Back with Shin Haru. She was stunned when a voice came through the earpiece. Hello, Miss Stardust. This is Egostick. She immediately became agitated and shouted an insult. Filthy trash. Kim Dane on the other end calmly continued. You're making me curious. Why aren't you rescuing people and just standing there? The plane is about to crash. Exion Haru angrily looked at the burning plane hurtling down and yelled. It's your doing, isn't it? Now you tell me to stop it? Kim Dane asked back. If you don't do it, then who will? Exion Haru, choked with emotion, tears streaming. Just touching that chunk of metal falling at 1,000 kilometers per hour would tear my body to pieces. This is your plan, isn't it? You're trying to push me to my death, right? On this side, Kim Dane wore a dangerous smile. You can do it, Exion Haru. She was surprised. What? He continued to encourage her. Act. Clench your fists. Fly up there and save them. You can do it. Because it's you, you'll succeed. Exion Haru grew more chaotic, screaming inwardly. Damn it. What is this madman saying? In a blinding white space, Kim Dane seemed to appear before her and gently asked, Why would I want to kill you? If you're not here, Stardust, I'm just an ordinary villain. You are the one who helped me become whole. Exion Haru was momentarily stunned. Then she pushed up on her knees to sit up, telling herself, Even if this might be a plot to eliminate me, I'll try once. As she spoke, she took off the earpiece. She crushed the earpiece. Then she planted her hands down. She summoned power that shattered the space around her. Her body shot into the sky like a rocket, heading straight for the nose of the falling plane. She pressed her lips together, thinking, Right, if I just stand and watch people die, I'll live forever haunted by guilt. An image of Kim Dane appeared, saying confidently, You can do it, because it's you. Exion Haru's face filled with determination. She would rather sacrifice herself to save others than live forever in regret. Two streams of power collided in the sky, creating a huge explosion. She thought, I've killed them. But if I focus a little more now, a flash of a happy family appeared. Mom, Dad. The man on the plane wept uncontrollably. He looked down at the horrific scene. Then he closed his eyes as if surrendering. Inside the plane, a little girl clamped her hands over her ears, gritted her teeth to stay conscious, and looked out the window. Suddenly she was stunned, tears streaming down her face. The speed is decreasing. Those outside watched with wide-eyed amazement. A tense crew member reported over the radio. It's unclear what happened, but the plane is currently being supported from outside and is descending to the ground. An announcement sounded in the cabin. Dear passengers, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened and await further instructions. In the sky, Exion Haru poured all her strength into holding up the weight of the plane hurtling downward at terrifying speed. She gritted her teeth, veins bulging. Just a little more. Cut to another scene, the view gradually opening. A flight attendant asked in panic, "Mr. Kim Dokbae, are you all right?" The man woke up, holding his head tiredly, then looked around dazed and asked, "What's going on?" Then the two of them stepped off the plane together. The flight attendant supported the victim, while Kim Dokbae stared around in confusion, his face full of bewilderment. "Is it her?" The flight attendant looked at him with a puzzled expression. Mr. Kim Dokbae wept openly, joyfully exclaiming, "She is the one who protected us, a hero." As for Exion Haru, she knelt on the ground amid everyone's curiosity. Kim Dokbae blurted out, "Is it her?" The flight attendant wondered too, but Mr. Kim Dokbae, tears streaming, movedly said, "She is the one who saved everyone." Exion Haru looked up, panting from exhaustion, tears streaming down her cheeks, and whispered, "Egos tick." The story quickly made the headlines everywhere. Images of Exion Haru were printed across international news. The US was astonished, Japan stunned, China loudly praised her, and France bowed to this hero. Who is Stardust? China had to admit that, in terms of heroes, they were completely outmatched by Korea. Even 10 Japanese heroes combined couldn't rival Korea. Japan's Minister of the Interior revealed a shocking disclosure. News broadcasts quickly picked up the story, announcing, "Good morning, viewers. This is the morning 900 news to start your day." Yesterday morning, A-rank villain Egostic used a remote control to seize the plane, causing it to fall. But all passengers were miraculously saved. The one who held the plane was none other than Stardust, our pride. Although many experts had earlier said she couldn't stop the incident, in the end, the plane landed safely. Finally, Jean Haru returned home. Hearing the news about herself, she quickly turned off the TV and took a sip of water. Just out of the shower, she looked so relieved and adorable. Suddenly the phone rang. She answered, "Hello." After listening to the person on the other end, she asked, "Really?" The caller, a blue-haired person, confirmed, "Yeah, I asked the association president to give Exion Haru a short leave. Go to the beach, enjoy the scenery, relax for a day. It's been a while since we've gone out together." Exion Haru cheered happily. "Great, I'll leave tomorrow." The blue-haired friend added, "Remember to invite Kim Chae-hyun too." A little later, Exion Haru went out onto the balcony to feel the breeze. Her face was serious, as if she were pondering something. Someone's words echoed in her memory. "You can do it, because it's you." Exion Haru smiled faintly, thinking, "Has anyone ever believed in me like that? He's just an ordinary villain." Suddenly she realized something. Wait, why did he tell me to go save the plane? If he was sure I could stop and save it, then why did he make it fall in the first place? Kim Dane's words echoed again. "I'm just an ordinary villain. You were the one who helped me become whole." Exion Haru held her head, feeling a terrible headache. She thought Egostic had too many mysteries, but somehow she felt he had deliberately done all this for some purpose. She needed to thoroughly investigate his movements. Her eyes were filled with determination. Suddenly, a call from the Hero Association appeared on her phone screen. What the person on the other end said made Exion Haru exclaim in surprise. "What? Remeasure my force metrics?" Time quickly passed to the next morning. Roosters crowed. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Hanso-yu, wearing a golden life preserver at his side, excitedly shouted, "It's finally here." Kim Dane came out to remind, "Say, get ready to go. Remember to release some air from the float and put it in the trunk." The girl replied excitedly, "Yes, sir." Seeing this, Kim Dane looked displeased and muttered, "Huh?" Suddenly he rubbed his chin thoughtfully, thinking, Come to think of it, this is my first vacation since arriving in this world. Should I enjoy it?" Kim Dane then broke into an expectant smile. But just a moment later, seeing the road jammed ahead, his voice rose in complaint. "What's going on with this?" Inside the car, the three were flushed red from the heat, sweat pouring. Kim Dane sat in the driver's seat, complaining, "Why is the air conditioning broken today of all days?" Hanso-yu, looking faint, suggested, "Hey, can you teleport the whole car?" Kim Dane replied in panic, "You'll die on the spot. Pull into the rest stop and sort this out first." Hansu, with superintelligence, said, If it's too hot, just take off your shirt. The girl began removing her jacket and shouted, "If you knew that, why not just take the train? Why make such a fuss?" Kim Dane objected, "We have too much stuff, we can't." Seiyu curiously opened the gray box beside her. "What's this? Isn't this supposed to be things for the trip?" It turned out to be a suitcase full of guns. Kim Dane gave a smug thumbs up. "Who knows what might happen?" Hansu, fuming behind him, shouted, "What kind of trip is this?" Kim Dane panicked and quickly reassured them. "Sorry, say put the gun down and then we'll talk." After a string of troubles on the way, their group finally arrived at the destination. Hansoyu changed into a cute swimsuit, grabbed the golden float and dashed into the sea excitedly. The ocean. Kim Dane sat on the shore, watching and smiling. "This really is childish." Lai Subin popped open a can of soda and handed it to Kim Dane. "I just bought a drink. Have a can too." She had changed into a pretty bikini. Kim Dane took the drink and replied, "Thanks, Ms. Lai Subin." Suddenly Lai Subin stared at Kim Dane, making him look back puzzled. She said, "I'm always grateful to you, Kim Dane." He asked, "Grateful? For what?" Liabin answered, "For everything. Thank you for saving me back then. Thank you for treating me kindly." Faced with such beauty and charm, Kim Dane was like a wooden plank, smiling with narrowed eyes and giving a thumbs up. "What are you talking about? I'm the one who should be thankful. You do the housework for us and your cooking is good too." Lai Subin tucked her hair behind her ear, looking shy. Hearing that, "I feel very touched." Kim Dane swallowed hard, suspicion creeping in as he thought, could this be a dead flag from a comic or a betrayal? He looked nervously at the can in his hand, thinking, could I be poisoned? His distorted expression made Liabin look at him with puzzlement. Cut back to the large building in the city, where Exai and Haru appeared. Some staff members talked among themselves. "We didn't mismeasure. The data clearly shows she couldn't have stopped the plane." Another staffer added, "Maybe there's an error somewhere. Could it be that we haven't grasped her true power?" Exai and Haru stood before the strength test board, thinking, the ability test wasn't wrong. If I was able to stop a disaster that seemed impossible, then clearly, as she thought that, she erupted with power, preparing to retake the test. This impact made the surrounding staff stare in astonishment. Exai and Haru shouted, swinging a powerful fist. That punch struck the test board directly. The test board cracked and shattered. Even the screws split. The surge of power radiated throughout the surrounding space. The staff watched the scene in horror. Exai and Haru stood before her fist and exclaimed, "I'm stronger now." Back with Kim Dane, Lai Subin sat beside him, tucking her hair shyly. Hearing that, "I feel very touched." Seeing that expression, Kim Dane pressed his lips together tensely, thinking, could this be the death flag in a comic or a betrayal? His face went pale as if he had realized something terrible, while the sun continued to shine brilliantly down. Hansoyu, wearing a swim float, was enjoying the sea and noticed something on the shore. Kim Dane replied tensely to Lai Subin, "Ha, I hope I can count on you, Ms. Liabin, in the future." Hansoyu quickly ran ashore, pointed at the two of them, and exposed, Hey, you two, are you getting all lovey-dovey and leaving me alone?" Lai Subin flustered and shyly retorted, "Lovey-dovey? Say you?" Kim Dane calmly asked back. "Huh?" The girl, furious, blazed, "If this is a family trip, we should play together." He gave a sly smile. "Oh, really?" Hansoyu frowned at that expression. Moments later, Kim Dane turned into a scary uncle, hoisted Hansoyu and the float up, making the girl panic. "Hey, what are you doing?" Wait. Kim Dane playfully tossed her into the sea, grinning wickedly. "Doing what?" "Just playing together." Hansoyu fell into the sea and struggled to resurface. She flung a strand of seaweed into Kim Dane's face and yelled, "My nose is full of water. Ugh, how annoying." Seriously, Kim Dane forced a smile, wiped the seaweed from his face, thinking, it's been a long time since I've had this kind of peace. I like it. Then he bared his teeth like a devil and splashed water at Hansoyu. Lai Subin sat on the shore watching the scene and laughed happily. Time passed quickly. It was evening. On the road, strange cars sped by, accompanied by a voice shouting, "Where should our team bomb tonight? Busan Hotel, Mario's Royal Hyperion, Han Grand Ambassador 2. All of them, the leader, his voice cutting through the gloomy air, exclaimed, Let's make it a spectacular hit. Cut to the Mario's Royal Hyperion H Grand Ambassador H Hotel. Kim Dane's group, after a fun day at the beach, returned to the hotel to rest. The receptionist asked, "Hello, under what name is the reservation?" Kim Dane replied, "Maybe under Hansel Yu." The receptionist smiled and handed over a room card. "Yes, I've confirmed it. Here's the key to room 270. Kim Dane asked in confusion. Only one room? Hello Yu stepped up, stood beside him, puckered and whistled, awkwardly explained. Well, saving some money isn't a bad thing. The group reluctantly let it go. The three of them went out together to wait for the elevator up to the room. Suddenly, Hansel Yu exclaimed, "Oh right, the bed is huge, so let's all sleep together." Kim Dane rolled his eyes. "There's only one bed?" Lai Subin, though excited and looking forward to it, remained calm. "It's been a long time since we've slept three to a bed. It'll be fun." Kim Dane broke into a sweat as he looked at them. "Yeah, we never sleep together like this." Inwardly he prayed, "Nothing's going to happen." Really nothing happened. What was I expecting? The three of them actually slept together on the bed. Hansel Yu in the middle, sleeping soundly and snoring. Kim Dane was dozing with his eyes closed when suddenly a whisper sounded outside the door. "Wait, I want to get into this room." Then came counting to get a running start. 1, 2. Two robbers dressed in full gear, holding guns, kicked the door in and shouted, "FBI, open up." Kim Dane flicked them aside with just one finger, and immediately the two were struck in the jaw, flew backward, and collapsed unconscious on the spot. After a while, Kim Dane sat up, rubbed his eyes, yawned, and said, "Where on earth did these guys come from?" The two lay motionless and unconscious on the floor. Kim Dane carefully peered out the door and saw guests from other rooms, still in their pajamas, being dragged away by those FBI men. "Move quickly and check these people," one shouted. He exclaimed, "Terrorists? Really?" He gritted his teeth and crushed the edge of the door. "Damn it, we've only gone on holiday twice and each time something stupid happens?" On his phone screen, Kim Dane was looking up some information. He exclaimed, "Wait, why is Shadow Walker still around and they dare cause trouble at night?" On the screen was shocking news. A-rank hero Shadow Walker found collapsed west of Incheon. Hansel Yu had woken up by then, yawning as he asked, "What's going on? Terrorists?" Kim Dane replied, "Yeah." He thought, eyes wide. "I'm not surprised anymore." He added, "Wait, I'll go check the parking area. Wake Lai Subin and wait in the room." Hans, still drowsy, rubbed his eyes. "Terrorists on a trip too? Okay, I'll follow orders." Kim Dane was now in his car. He looked outside and saw the terrorists fiddling around next to the cars. He thought, "I can't just slip away quietly without dealing with this." Kim Dane rummaged around, pulled out a grotesque mask and put on a sinister expression. "I didn't expect the spare mask I brought to be useful so soon," he said. "Serves those bastards right for ruining our trip. Come on, show your faces." After getting his gear, Kim Dane returned to the hotel room. The two girls were awake, sitting properly waiting. Kim Dane tossed the gear to them and announced, "We'll take orders through the in-ear. Let's go, everyone." He looked thoroughly pleased. "Hello," you sighed wearily. "You really do get excited at times like this." Outside the hotel lobby, the terrorists stacked a pile of chairs into a small mountain, and the leader Monkey Spanner, an A-rank villain, sat atop it. Below him were henchmen pointing guns in every direction. Monkey Spanner stroked his beard and spoke. "Are we ready?" The two men below nodded in reply. He praised, "Good." Then he loudly pointed down and ordered, "Announce to the Hero Association and the government that we are holding hundreds of hostages here. If the money isn't transferred to the account we provide immediately, we'll kill them all." Below, the captured guests were tied up, kneeling on the floor, and Monkey Spanner continued to shout, "The account number is 1, 2. Suddenly a noise rang out that made both the hostages and the terrorists look in one direction. Monkey Spanner grew alert, closing his mouth to listen. Kim Dane, now wearing an orange mask, stepped out clapping and laughed loudly. "Enough! This kind of pathetic terrorism ends here." He raised his hand and generated a wave of energy. Immediately, a gun in one terrorist's hand was pulled away by that force. Then countless guns were manipulated by that power, their muzzles turned to the foreheads of the terrorists themselves. Kim Dane swung his fist, and a blast of power spread throughout the vast hotel. Inside, the hostages were terrified by the sight and screamed. Kim Dane's pupils glowed purple. He tensed, thinking, has this already drained the stockpile of external kinetic energy I've accumulated for months? Then he leapt up, shot forward to attack Monkey Spanner, kicked him to the floor and took his place. Looking down from above, he gave a wicked grin. You pathetic weaklings dare commit terrorism? Suddenly, Monkey Spanner's eyes flashed red. He drew his gun and aimed it straight at Kim Dane. A shot rang out. The bullet lodged squarely in his abdomen, and even Kim Dane stared down at the wound in shock. Quickly, a mad laugh rang out. Ha ha ha, just one bullet? Kim Dane's expression left Monkey Spanner stunned. Kim Dane sat above, the bullet still in his gut, yet he calmly smiled and asked, is that it? Monkey Spanner now seemed like a giant who could control everything in the palm of his hand. Above, Kim Dane silently broke into a cold sweat. Behind the mask his face was twisted in pain. He thought, damn, this is bad. If I move any more, I'll bleed out and die. Below, Monkey Spanner began to take a step. A hunch told him he had to get out immediately. He thought, bastards, I planned to strike quickly while Shadow Walker wasn't here. Could it be that I'm on his target list too, which is why he was hiding here? Up above, Kim Dane forced a smile through the pain and said, you look nervous. I'll give you a chance to run if you can. Monkey Spanner gritted his teeth and swung a fist, demanding, what are you plotting? Kim Dane sat there and continued, plot my foot. The scheme you're obsessing over is the real plot. You've ruined my vacation, so don't bother me. Retreat while you still can. Inwardly, he urged him anxiously. Please, stop thinking, go. Just opening your eyes makes me dizzy. Monkey Spanner thought to himself, this is my chance. Yes, if I boost my power, I can recover at any moment. Startled hostages watched as he became like Flash, dashing straight for the hotel exit, thinking, the Monkey Spanner will be king of Korea one day. I can't die here. But from outside the door, a punch suddenly flew in, accompanied by shards of sharp glass. The blow sent Spanner hurtling violently backward, his body contorting like a misfired rocket. Exine Haru arrived in time, shouting at the terrorists, you're surrounded. Drop your guns and surrender. But when she looked down at the floor, she saw the terrorists lying there, already incapacitated. At that moment, a pair of straight legs stepped in. Exine Haru was baffled by the scene. Ice, an A-rank hero, said coldly. Huh? They're all dead? Shadow Walker, an A-rank hero, stood nearby with a bored expression. How dull? They're all down? A little fake news and it's terrorism already. Shadow Walker noticed Kim Dane sitting on the high pile of chairs and asked, but who is that? Kim Dane was dazed, a little pink bubble above his head, thinking, why is she here? Exine Haru frowned and looked up, asking, who are you? Did you subdue these terrorists? Kim Dane tried to clamp the wound shut, thinking, if I don't focus, I'll die right here. Kim Dane. Luckily, they don't seem to recognize me as Egostick, so I'll stall. I just need to recover enough to teleport twice more. Meanwhile, Hanso Yu and Lubin tensely listened to the voice in their earpieces. Outside, Kim Dane kept up the dangerous act, saying, you ask who I am? I'm an S-rank hero operating covertly in Korea. Those below looked up at him in astonishment. Exine Haru hurriedly pointed. Expose him. There are no records of an S-rank hero in the association. What nonsense are you spouting? Who are you, really? Kim Dane replied calmly. A rank hero Stardust. Don't you know what covert operations mean? A rank hero Ice, a rank hero Shadow Walker. I am a hero who has been active since before your generation. Lubin frowned with concern. Kim Dane outside remained arrogant. When you meet a senior, you should at least greet them. These guys are so clueless. Exine Haru looked up with a mix of discomfort and suspicion. He continued shaking his head, showing disappointment. Ha! You can tell from your faces that you understand nothing. Then I'll introduce myself. Listen carefully, I am a hero. His gaze shifted to a boy wearing a t-shirt that had apple mango printed on the back. The image of a delicious fruit appeared. Kim Dane promptly blurted the name. Apple Mangle. The released guests began to react. Upon hearing it, their expressions started loading at that name. Ice heard the info through her earpiece and replied, ah, he says he's Apple Mang. Then she coldly beckoned and exposed him. Hey, over there. They say there's no hero with that nickname. Who are you really? Kim Dane angrily shouted. Insolent fool. I even know the Hero Association president's real name is Park Min-jun. Now it's Park Min-jun, right? My name was provincial, so I changed it. Check it now. Those words left all three stunned. Inside, he was extremely tense. He hadn't expected the info from the origin text to be this useful. Ice responded, "In any case, the president already said he doesn't know you." At that moment, a guest spoke up, very displeased. "Hey heroes, I've been watching and I have to say something." Ice nervously sweated. Everyone please calm down," the guest continued. "That masked guy subdued the bad guys for us, so who he is doesn't matter." Kim Dane screamed inwardly. "Oh, thank God." "Exactly, sir. Just a bit more recovery and I can get away," the man continued, "and I saw him make a gun hover in midair and fire everywhere. He looks like that name that appears on TV." Exion Haru caught the point, while Kim Dane froze awkwardly. The man below gave him a thumbs up. "So what if that's true?" Thinking back, I felt thrilled. Kim Dane screamed inwardly. Stop it." I smiled faintly. That does sound rather suspicious." Kim Dane tensed quietly, sweating. "Just a little more." The three below began to release their powers. First, they should subdue him, then expose his identity, right? Ice reached out and fired her power forward. A pillar of ice drove into the floor. Kim Dane gritted his teeth, frozen in thought. Shadow Walker had silently closed in behind him. Kim Dane, struck and wounded, cried inwardly, Please move." Exion Haru's eyes sharpened as she stared at the opponent. Then she launched herself like a missile. Kim Dane's face contorted in pain, deeply worried about the situation. At that moment, Kim Dane managed to use his power, moved downward, and avoided that restraint. Hansel Yu and Lubin appeared in time and caught him. Then the two quickly vanished, taking the wounded Kim Dane away from the scene. After a while, their car lurched forward. The people inside tumbled about. Hansel Yu's eyes rolled. Unsteady, he still hurriedly asked, Are you okay?" Kim Dane's face twisted in pain as he said, "Say you. Right now erase all evidence that we were ever in Busan." If the hotel's guest list and that CCTV system noticed, he couldn't continue speaking. Both girls looked up in alarm. "Hey, are you okay?" Blood from the wound in Kim Dane's belly kept flowing. Lubin shouted, "We have to get him to a hospital now." Kim Dane tried to stop him. "No, I don't have the strength to teleport anymore. We'll definitely be caught. Take me back to Ego Base." Lubin gritted his teeth tensely, steering while loudly instructing Han Seoyu. "First, grab the first aid kit and do some emergency treatment." Han Seoyu's eyes welled with tears, as if she were seeing a haunting scene. Lubin turned and yelled to urge her. "Hurry up." The girl pulled herself together and quickly wiped her tears. Yes. Lubin, face serious, sped off. "I'll get everyone out of here first." On the pitch-dark road, the car shot forward like it was flying. At the hotel lobby earlier, the hostages were all being comforted by the police. I stood to one side and sighed. Ugh, honestly, a rare day off and these villains still won't let us rest. Shadow Walker's face darkened as he asked, "I'm going to take a break for a bit. Okay?" Ice turned and replied, Sure. Good work. I dragged you here just to unwind." Ice turned to Shinharu. "Since we're already here, Stardust." Meanwhile, Shinharu pursed her lips and fell silent, not paying attention to her surroundings. On the road at that moment, a car was driving. The driver yawned repeatedly, tired. "Man, so sleepy. I'll just chew some gum." Suddenly, he saw another car approaching in his rearview mirror. What is that?" That car sped like it was on fire, passing the driver who shouted, "Is that car crazy?" On the dashboard, the speed now exceeded 220 kilometers per hour. Han Seo-yu tried to treat Kim Dane's wound. Lubin gripped the wheel with a frightening expression. Kim Dane was covered in blood. The wound kept bleeding despite the bandage, sweat pouring from the pain. Meanwhile, Shinharu clenched her fist and said seriously, "We need to track his movements a bit." Cut to the past. In Kim Dane's room, a voice exclaimed, "It's the villains again. It's the villains again. They harassed Stardust in every way." Kim Dane slammed the book shut and lay on the bed with a blank look, saying, "Is it going to end like this?" This is 19-year-old Kim Dane in the past, with dark circles under his eyes. This story is really full of utterly depressing themes. The comic book fell to the floor. Kim Dane rolled back and forth on the bed, crying out, "Stardust." He muttered something, then fell asleep. In the night sky, a beam of light flashed past the window. Cut back to the present at some residential building. Han Seo-yu was worried about Kim Dane's condition. Her face was pale from extreme exhaustion. Lubin carried a tray of food over, but the girl refused. "I won't eat." Lubin coaxed. "Say, eat a little, Kim Dane will wake up." Kim Dane was now lying unconscious on the glass bed. Han Seo-yu covered her face and sobbed. Lee Subin sat beside her, heartbroken as she comforted her. As the girl cried while swallowing her food, a voice suddenly rang out. "You still eat so well, Seo-yu." Kim Dane turned to look, smiling. "And you're about to die." The two girls stared over in shock. Han Seo-yu began to bawl and cry loudly again, screaming and thrashing, punching Kim Dane. Lee Subin sat beside her, moved, and he could only wince and cry out in pain. Ouch. Outside, the sky remained pitch black. Images of Kim Dane wearing a white mask and holding a golden mask in his hand appeared, and news about him spread across the internet. Is a non-injurious terror incident really terrorism? Shin Haru sat in front of the computer screen, pensive. Yeah, that plane incident didn't cause casualties either. She wondered what would have happened if Agostic's call hadn't come, and she couldn't act. Kim Dane's image appeared, smiling. "It will be fine. You'll manage because it's you." Shin Haru lowered her head, tense. He believed she would definitely succeed, as if he already knew her power would be amplified. Then she suddenly curled her lips and said, "How would I know? It's probably just a coincidence." But she clenched her hand into a fist. The fact that she was stronger was undeniable. She picked up someone's info file, thinking, one more suspicious point. The villain's ego stick killed. This guy once had an ability that could cause a large-scale disaster someday, and he also saw that. Shin Haru concluded, Ego's Tick is certainly not a hero, but calling him simply a villain still doesn't suffice. I have a hunch he's setting up some gigantic chessboard. Next time there's a terror attack, we must unmask him. Shin Haru was utterly determined. Over at Hansel-yu, the girl was also silently scrolling her phone. So what's the purpose of those terror attacks? Ego's Tick knew the real name of the Hero Association president, PM June. Could Ego's Tick have been a high-ranking hero in the past who switched sides after a conflict with the association? The conspiracy theory that Ego's Tick clashed with the Hero Association was spreading. The three of them sat at the dining table. Hearing that information, Kim Dane felt like vomiting. Seiyu? I think I'm going to puke. Lee Subin forced a smile and put her phone away. Seiyu? For now, don't bother Kim Dane. He's very tired. The girl remained very displeased and challenged. What are you going to do? Again with the, I'm a villain, so I have to be like this and continue terrorizing? With that body? Again? Kim Dane flinched at her expression. Seiyu, I have no words. Suddenly, the two girls across from him both fixed him with sharp eyes. Kim Dane had to decide, we'll take a break for a while, about 3 months. This made both of them visibly relax and brighten. Really? He continued chewing and confirmed. Yeah, let's pause for a while. With the public's current attention, if I disappear for a while things will cool down. Kim Dane thought to himself that during the break he needed to recruit new members. An image of a mysterious person appeared in his head. Kim Dane calculated. If left as is, he'll become a villain causing great imbalance in the future. If we don't kill him, we must recruit him to our side. Very quickly, 3 months passed. An announcement blared. A villain has appeared. Stardust prepare to launch. Exine Haru hurriedly asked. Is it Itostic? The reply on the other end denied it. No, it's a villain calling himself Bombcatcher. Hearing that, she responded disappointed. Ah, I see. Later, Jean Haru in hero form rocketed through the air like a missile. As she dashed off, she wondered, Igostic, where have you been and what have you been doing for the past 3 months? Cut to Kim Dane's house. He was sitting there watching a large TV showing images of Exine Haru, munching popcorn and excited as if watching a movie. Han Seo-yu sat beside him, looking at him with exasperation. At that moment, a monster named Lok Bom, an A-rank villain, erupted with power and roared. Kim Dane cheered through the screen. Come on, Stardust. And Exine Haru, rushing in to attack Lok Bom, shouted, Are you Itostic? No way. Exine Haru went into a frenzy and smashed the opponent to pieces. Moments later, on the ground lay a guy with a crew cut, eyes rolled back, unconscious. Kim Dane excitedly tossed his popcorn tube up and shouted, See, the power-up was totally worth it. Stardust. Hanso frowned, annoyed. Is that really that fun? Kim Dane flinched, embarrassed. It's kinda sudden, the girl loudly reminded him. making him spit water. Now let's get to work. Hello continued. Babe, I can't stand you lurking around Stardust's fan club all day anymore. Kim Dane looked bewildered and asked. What? Se-han spoke in a gloomy tone. Kim Den, leader of the Stardust group, you thought I didn't know? I'm a well-known hacker. Exposed. Kim Dane quickly snatched the remote and turned off the screen, protesting. It's just a little hobby, the girl repeated. Anyway, we were supposed to work today. Kim Dane sat up. Today is the 17th, right? The girl grew excited. What is it? Terrorism? Kim Dane denied it. No. Han asked again. So we're gonna take down villains? He denied that too. Also no. Kim Dane broke into a bright smile and said, We're recruiting new members. Scene change. On a high corner of town, an elderly couple were watching the view below. The man sighed. Oh, it's still the same here. Huh? This view hasn't changed in 20 years. Just then, a hat-wearing girl, head down so her face couldn't be seen, bumped into him. Ah, I'm sorry. He waved it off. It's fine. I'm okay. A student, but after the girl walked on, she was holding a wallet in her hand. This girl had green irises. Glancing down, she saw a group of thugs, each with a cigarette dangling, looking up at her with leering, roguish faces. The girl clenched her teeth in anger. At that moment, a boy with the same clear green irises appeared and ran up, smiling brightly as he called, Sis. The boy's name was Chon, 13 years old. The girl pinched her brother's cheek and asked, Did you have fun? The boy replied happily, She noticed her brother's wounded knee. Your knee's scraped. Where did you get hurt? Cha-yoon answered innocently, I just fell on the way home. The girl raised her hand, released healing power, and warned. Really? Be more careful next time. Cha-yoon watched the wound on his knee begin to close and exclaimed in surprise. Whoa! After a while, the scrape had completely vanished. The girl took off her hat and placed it on Chon's head. You go home first. Okay? The boy obediently nodded, yes. When she removed the hat, it revealed a pretty orange-haired girl. She smiled brightly and said, I'll go get some tasty food and come back. Introducing the girl. This is Lai Houn, who would later become the villain called the Green Frog. Sometime later, night had fallen. Lai Houn returned with a bag of food, opened the door, and cheerfully called, Cha-yoon, I bought a delicious tabbouleh for you. Suddenly, Lai Houn's face went pale when she saw the scene inside. A voice echoed from within the house. Knew it, that kid. The bag of food fell, and inside were members of the Wild Dog gang from the reservoir area. Cha-yoon was being restrained by a masked man. One of them spoke. In our turf and you still dare to pick pockets? If I find you hiding anything else, I'll send you to meet your maker. Got it? Lai Houn, though terrified, shouted. That's enough. Leave Chon alone and take all that stuff and get out. The man sighed, sounding bored. Look at that kid. He grabbed Cha-yoon's hair so hard the boy screamed in pain. The man took pleasure in others' pain. Hey, little brat. Two others lunged at Lai Houn to restrain her. She screamed, Bastards. He kept holding Cha-yoon's head and said, Look, it seems your sister has no idea what's happening. Huh? The scar-faced man pressed a knife to Chon's neck. Today I'll teach you a lesson. Seeing that, Lai Houn screamed in horror. No, I'm wrong. Please, the cruel scar-faced man raised the knife. Too late, you bitch. Cha-yoon shut his eyes tightly, desperate. Suddenly, some force snatched the knife from his hand. He was stunned and glanced back, then was hurled forward by a force and slammed into the wall. After that, dangerous gun barrels hovered menacingly over the Wild Dog gang at the reservoir. Cha-yoon seized the moment and lunged forward. Lai Houn clutched the boy, excitedly calling out, Cha-yoon! Kim Dane appeared outside their yard. He thought, the 17th, Friday, Cha-yoon's brother was supposed to be killed by that gang today. Lai Houn destined to be corrupted and turned to villainy. Lucky I arrived early. If I'd been a bit later, it would have been a disaster. Cha-yoon turned outside, saw him, and blurted in shock. See, could it be? Lai Houn turned, stepped in front of Cha-yoon warily, and demanded, Are you Itostic? Kim Dane wore a villainous smile. Nice to meet you, Houn and Cha-yoon. I'm here to take you both away. Lai Houn's face darkened as she shouted. Why are you taking us? You're a cruel villain too, clearly. She demanded. Kim Dane calmly explained. Why? Of course, to save you. Didn't you see just now? Besides, if the police showed up, it would be troublesome. Lai Houn remained determined. I'd rather die than go. You bastard, what do you intend to do? At that moment, Cha-Yun dashed outside like the wind. Li-Hound froze and urgently shouted, Cha-Yun? No. In her eyes she saw Cha-Yun running toward Kim Den, whom she considered very dangerous. But the boy ran up, grabbed Kim Den's hand, and cried, Ego's tick, I'm in the Mang Guild. The boy looked at Kim Dane with admiration and pride. Even Kim Dane was puzzled by the boy's affection. Very soon, Kim Dane took the two siblings to his hideout and introduced them to the other members. So, these are our new members. Say hello. Cha-Yun's eyes lit up as he cried, Wow! Even Ego's famous cyber-terror beauty is here. Lubin broke into a sweat at that nickname. Cha-Yun naively asked, So is that person a hacker? Li-Hound carefully bowed in greeting. Hello everyone. I'm Li-Hound, this is my brother, Cha-Yun. Hansel studied them carefully and remarked seriously, The new member has healing ability. Turns out it's a girl. A while later, the group gradually bonded. Kim Dane cheerfully opened the fridge, calling as he grabbed some mango juice. Cha-Yun, still excited, shouted, It's really mango. Han stared straight ahead, recalling the first time he met Kim Den. Li-Hound sat beside him, still very tense and wary. Kim Dane stood by the fridge, tilting his head back to gulp juice. When Han shouted threateningly, Don't just put your mouth straight on it like that, Kim Dane flinched and spat all the juice out. That was mine. Hansel, knowing he'd gone too far, still grumbled. Then be more careful next time. Lubin gently carried a plate of peeled apples and asked, Cha-Yun, do you want some fruit? The boy's eyes lit up. Wow, thank you. He quickly speared a piece with a fork and popped it into his mouth. Li-Hound called out worriedly, Cha-Yun. The boy turned back in surprise. Li-Hound only looked away and sighed. It's nothing. Kim Dane smiled brightly and said, Say, Li Subin, I plan to have a serious talk with them for a bit. Could you two step outside for now? Han stuck out her tongue teasingly and mimicked him. Step outside for a bit? Kim Dane was speechless at her personality. Li Subin, please take her home to the big house first. Do that. A little while later, only 3 people remained in the room. Kim Dane sat opposite the 2 siblings and spoke first. Li-Hound, you killed the orphanage director and ran away, didn't you? Those words made Li-Hound frown on guard. Kim Dane continued, I investigated. That director often abused you both. I didn't come to you by chance. I have a purpose. She asked suspiciously, What purpose? Kim Dane replied, To let you two live happily. Li-Hound looked at him in astonishment. What? Kim Dane smiled and added, Oh, of course not in this cramped underground place. I've set up a teleport gate. We'll move to the big house, live there, and you can go to school. Li-Hound remained doubtful and asked, Why are you doing this for us? We only met today. Kim Dane thought of Hansel and gently explained, Because I have a little sister too, that's why I'm doing this. Cha-Yun's eyes shone. I've watched all of Mangal Egotic's terror cases. I watched them over and over like 10 times. Kim Dane awkwardly replied, Is that so? Thank you. He worried inwardly. I wonder if it's appropriate for an elementary schooler to watch that. Li-Hound sternly warned. Cha-Yun. Li-Hound sternly warned. Cha-Yun. Cha-Yun clasped his hands tightly, full of hope for a bright future. Li-Hound pondered for a moment, then agreed. All right. Later, Kim Dane led the 2 siblings to a special location. A secret gate opened, revealing a mysterious space. Kim Dane turned back with a bright smile. Follow me. He stepped into the gate and his body gradually disappeared. Li-Hound remained very tense, while Cha-Yun excitedly jumped to the gate, turned back and waved. Aren't you going? Sis? I'll go ahead. Li-Hound called out in panic, then sighed helplessly, and finally decided to follow everyone. A while later, Li-Hound climbed the stairs and looked around in amazement. Before her stood Cha-Yun looking out through the glass, the light shining in bright and warm. Kim Dane asked, Do you like it? This will be our home. Cha-Yun seems to like it. I'll be on the 3rd floor, you'll be on the 2nd. There are 2 private rooms and tuition is not a worry. At your age you should be going to school anyway, and I have plenty of money. Li-Hound looked at him, still full of suspicion. Kim Dane continued gently. If it feels awkward, stay a few days and decide. If you want to go back you can refuse at any time. Okay. Li-Hound looked at him and suddenly recalled the scar-faced man pressing a knife to Cha-Yun's throat. Back then, the boy had closed his eyes in despair, but now he was cheerful and innocent. Li-Hound nodded and said, Thank you so much. Kim Dane patted her shoulder reassuringly. It's nothing. Let's live well together. Elsewhere, Kim Dane put on a smug, villainous grin, then scratched his head in puzzlement. I feel like I forgot something. What was it? Night had deepened, and the moon shone clearly. Social media feeds were flooded with information about Egostick. Is Egostick really dead? Mangle Bell can't be. Nearly 4 months have passed with no trace. In the comments were pleas. Come back, come back, come back. Exine Haru sat before the computer screen, disappointed, asking, Ha! Where are you and what are you doing? Egostick? She frowned, waiting to the point of losing patience. In the laboratory, bathed in green light, the viscous liquid in the gigantic tank began to boil violently. Bubbles rose and burst as if something enormous were stirring inside. 2 scientists stood on the balcony looking down, their gazes a mix of fear and excitement. One of them spoke in a trembling voice. Every time I witness it, I still get goosebumps. The bespectacled man, sweat beading on his brow, tried to swallow. His smile twisted between fear and exhilaration. He exclaimed, incredible, his eyes glittering like someone intoxicated by the frenzy of science. Behind him, the silver-haired man remained standing silently, his expression cold as steel. The silver-haired man gave a thin smile, his voice ringing with confidence. The Behemoth project must be completed. He turned to his colleague and said, We will present it to Dr. Kim Seon-woo when he is released. The green light playing across his face made the smile look even more terrifying. Beneath the layer of liquid, the gigantic creature continued to convulse. Its black tentacles whipped against the tank walls with a bone-chilling sound. The silver-haired man twisted his mouth and said, When that happens, South Korea will collapse. His eyes flashed an uncontainable madness, and the Hanwha Corporation will dominate the entire world. No one can stop us. Around them, a cluster of scientists stood around the test tank, hands stretched toward the seething creature. Shouts rose in frantic chorus. The room trembled in waves. A blue light flashed brightly. The whole scene resembled a ritual summoning a monster. Cut to inside the Egostick base. In the sunlit kitchen, the knife tapped out a steady rhythm as mushrooms were sliced. Lee Haru carefully cut each slice, her face serious but slightly embarrassed, her hand trembling faintly from being unused to kitchen work. Beside her, Subin washed the greens, smiling gently as she asked, You could stay home and rest. Why insist on helping me? Lee Haru replied flustered, No, I feel more comfortable when I help. Her voice small and shy, Subin murmured, Thank you. Her eyes closed, a gentle, grateful expression on her face. Lee Haru knit her brow slightly, looking sad as if worried about something. Subin smiled softly as she watched Lee Haru help tidy up, her voice tender. We'll finish preparing soon. It's all thanks to you. Lee Haru bowed her head slightly, her green eyes flashing with embarrassment. In her mind a thought echoed, the beautiful victim of the Egostick bombing, Sister Subin. For months after that case, she was living a happy, prosperous life, so complete that it entirely dispelled the worrying rumors that she had been assaulted. Seo-eun's voice sounded at her side. Hey, can you help me up? Daoin warned again. Try to stay steady when you walk. Seo-eun, you'll only hurt yourself. In Lee Haru's head, the stream of thought still continued, and the true identity of Egostick was Kim Daoin. Daoin flopped down into the chair, her voice sharp. This house is so bright and yet you still sleep in the pitch-black basement? He still tugged Seo-eun lightly. The girl replied wearily, You're the one who keeps talking about that ego base. After a few seconds of silence, Dain shifted her tone in a flash. All right then, let's eat. Dain was extremely excited as she looked at the food before her. But Lee Haru's thoughts had not stopped. Someday, if he returned wounded with his healing ability, she reached out her hand in front of her, then clenched it with determination. Cut to Dain now sprawled on the bed in the bare room, light streaming through the window onto the wall calendar. He murmured in a weary tone, It's time. A hint of fatigue crossed his face, his eyes contemplatively fixed on the ceiling. It's time to prepare for the black disaster caused by those bastards at Hanwha Group. Suddenly a loud quang exploded. The window rattled. A cold voice echoed. So it's you hiding here, Mangostick? Seo-eun burst into the room, fired up, shouting, Now let's go terrorize them. I'm so fed up I'm going crazy. Dain answered, All right, now we're going to go terrorize them. The girl asked in surprise. Really? He simply smiled faintly, then announced, Team Ego? All members assemble. By now, everyone was present. Suddenly, Lee Haru spoke up. But at first, why are we going to terrorize like this? The three others' faces darkened. Dain wore a proud expression and began to explain. If you're curious about the reason for our terrorist actions, the world's compassion is the answer. Seoun crossed her arms and said exasperatedly, "Stop. Get to the point. Will you? That one?" Dain was helpless. It's no longer on, but that. His face grew serious. Lee Haru, actually we're the villains. She broke into a sweat. Understood. So we have to carry out a terror act. Seoun raised a finger and continued. However, we absolutely must not cause civilian casualties. We need to create a dilemma perfectly suited to Agostic's idea. Oh, and it has to be related to Stardust, that bastard. It has to be a terrorist act that somehow benefits her. Dain could only smile wryly. Thanks for the summary, Seoun. But did you just say something inappropriate? That was just a slip of the tongue, right? He uncapped his pen and smiled confidently. Anyway, he sketched an image of a bridge. The idea for the next terrorist act was, has the Soul Bridge collapsed yet? Lee Haru was a bit puzzled why it had to be the Soul Bridge, because right here, a giant monster will appear at this location in Uedo, and it will head straight north, sweeping across the entire Korean peninsula. But what if we make the Soul Bridge collapse during the terrorist act? It will be drenched. The monster's weakness is water. It will be finished. We must terrorize and also capture the villain. In other words, kill two birds with one stone. After finishing his words, he tipped his hat and bowed to mark the end of his performance. Seoun looked at this pile of plans and had to ask, "Where on earth have you been getting this information all this time? You only left one line? It's a trade secret." Seoun lightly raised a hand to hide her smile. It felt like we were both taking down a villain and committing an act of terrorism at the same time. Moreover, this time it didn't seem to be about that damn Stardust. Dain could only give a helpless smile. "Can you drop the word damn?" Hearing that, the girl sat down happily and replied, "Perfect. Is the idea decided yet?" Dain answered with a confident smile. "What's the one thing we have in abundance?" Seoun replied skeptically, "Money." But he had to dismiss that with the gesture of a tycoon. No, that's not money. The day had finally come. His image appeared before everyone's cameras. He was hovering in the air with a loudspeaker and a camera. Behind him was the Soul Bridge. Hovering above, he began to speak, "Greetings everyone, chosen as the most influential villain by the Heroes Association." His gaze narrowed slightly. "I, Egoistic, have returned. Everyone knows what I'm about to do, right? What else could I do at Soul Bridge? Ha ha ha, of course a bomb threat." A driver shouted loudly, "It's a terrorist attack." Sunlight still shone before the impending disaster. Dain's face darkened as she lifted the switch to announce, "Everyone hold on tight." After he pressed the button, a series of explosions lit up the bridge. The ruined bridge lay before them. His voice still echoed. It seemed the selection of new guests to assist our little game had been completed. Below, someone commented, "Who in their right mind would recruit guests like that?" His words continued to be broadcast to everyone. The participants in this game were the good citizens of this country watching the live stream. Yes, it was you. The method was simple. Send your bank account number to the link mentioned in the video, and I will immediately transfer 100,000 won. However, before 7 p.m. tonight, if the number of people who accept 100,000 won from me exceeds 500,000, I will blow up this bridge, of course including those traveling on it. Everyone received this information. Some were panicked and worried, but others eagerly began entering their account numbers, offering the choice 100,000 won for free or this possibly explosive bridge. Now, your choice 100,000 won or the bridge. With that line, the screen suddenly went dark. Before it ended, he left one last line that set the chat ablaze. "Oh, Stardust, you don't need to appear today. Take a rest." People began commenting excitedly. "I'll personally protect my woman." The sweet villain telling Stardust to rest. LMAO, as if she'd sit out just because he said so. "She's a hero though." Finally done, he stretched. His eyes closed. He smiled inwardly, thinking she was probably relieved not to be bothered by some crazed villain. Before he could finish speaking, Stardust came flying in from afar at breakneck speed, which made him involuntarily exclaim, "Stardust." Seeing her, he awkwardly flung the detonator control into the air, and Stardust, seeing it, immediately recognized the device. Looking at the girl before him, he thought to himself, "Long time no see, Stardust." Her face darkened as she looked at him without saying a word. Under the weight of this deadly silence, he could only call out, "Stardust." She still said nothing, only fixing him with a cold, piercing stare. Dain, not understanding what was happening, also turned to look. At this moment, he looked utterly small under the pressure of this woman. What on earth is going on? The scene shifts to a workspace. An older man speaks up, "Hey Kim, what's the matter? Sneaking a cigarette?" The young man over there cheerfully holds up his phone and replies to the captain, "Look, on the phone is footage of Daein being replayed. If you enter your account number here, he'll actually send 100,000 won." The uncle frowned at the phone and said, "Let's see, if more than 500,000 people receive it, he'll blow up the Seoul Bridge." The young man replied, "Yes, I know Ego's tick. He's staging some kind of terror on the bridge right now." The uncle beside him also remembers, that villain who wants to act like a lunatic, what a joke, who would believe that. The young man, his face like he'd struck gold, replied, "I just finished 100,000 won." The uncle heard that and shouted loudly, "Hey, don't do that." The young man immediately bowed in fear and stammered, "Sorry, Captain." But then the uncle immediately changed his expression, pulled out his phone and smiled. "I got it as soon as you appeared." Seeing that the young man recovered and gave a thumbs up in return, "Captain, you really startled me. You're a good actor." After that, it was just the two of them talking. "We'll really hit 500,000 stars. Forget it, let's have a company party tonight." The young man could reply just fine. Inside a kitchen, a mother was checking on her child over the phone. "Hey, have you eaten yet?" My bank account number." She was puzzled. Suddenly, what's wrong with the boy? Since when has he been giving me an allowance? On the screen it appeared that Ego Team 100,000 had been transferred in. She exclaimed, "Oh my, really? But what is Ego Team?" Cut to the burning bridge. Daein sat there trembling uncontrollably. Who would have thought it would be this cold today? Then he grew serious again. After all, he recalled the image of Stardust. Her gaze was as sharp as a knife. She was ready to rush in if I blew the bridge up. As if the air had frozen solid. Why was she glaring at me like that? Could Seoul Bridge hold some memories that weren't in the original? I didn't think she'd be that angry. It almost made me feel guilty. But then he resolutely came back with no other choice. It was all for Stardust. Given the way the dark threat was portrayed in the original, her current powers would never be able to stop it. In the original storyline, it was the first true threat. It marked the moment this comic moved beyond meaningless heroic beats and into something much darker. Putting everything aside, Daein took out his phone to check the progress. Looking at the number on the screen left him astonished. 450,000 people had already signed up and there were still 3 hours to go. He slowly jumped down onto the packed dirt, bit his lip and said, "These people are something else," raising a hand to his neck and exhaling softly. Daein told himself he didn't need to lift a finger to win against them. Were they really that reckless? But standing before the camera he still had to smile and say, "Good citizens of South Korea, I don't believe any of you would stoop so low as to accept that money." Below, a string of comments read, "Exactly, right, of course." He placed his hand on the white car and continued, "You haven't forgotten, have you? Wait for our new guests. Their lives hanging by the whim of a merciless villain." He looked into the car and thought to himself this part was beyond his control. "I would like to say it's someone else's doing. It's just that," he said with a smile to the person inside. "Hello. Thank you for joining us. Could you introduce yourself?" The man sitting in the car chuckled in response. "Yes, hello, my name is Choi Jung-jin." Daein judged from his nonchalant expression that there was no longer any worry. "You climbed into the car and continued the interview. Pleased to meet you. Mr. Choi, your life is in danger. Aren't you scared? Not even a little concerned?" Hearing that, Choi Jung-jin laughed even louder. Daein was a bit surprised. He was laughing. Choi Jung-jin radiated a kind of saintly light and replied, "As long as people don't accept the money, including the Seoul Bridge, I'm fine, right?" Daein was also affected by that light and closed her eyes. "I'll apologize for them right here." Below, comments appeared one after another. "I thought about taking advantage of it, but never mind, you're a good person. Am I trash? Right, I'll take the money then rather than you. I apologize, I'm sorry." Daein was at a loss for words. Well then, what a splendid declaration from Mr. Choi, trusting his fellow Koreans. Any last words? Stardust watched from a distance but could still hear Choi Jung-jin saying, "Go to Korea. I believe in you." She slightly frowned. "What's your game?" Ego's tick. Daein was still lingering on the bridge, silently hoping, so tired. Please, this time just a normal reaction. He looked through the window at another car. When they saw him, there were loud screams from inside the car. Like seeing an idol, the girls took turns expressing themselves. Mangastic. "Oh my god, he's insanely handsome in real life. Hey, after this let's buy a lottery ticket. We'll die before we even scratch it. We're his loyal fans. But will he really kill us? He always saves people at the last moment, right?" Another friend said, "Hey, haven't you seen him crush the plane?" That's right, the murmurs made him feel scared too, and he thought to himself, what a headache. Daein used the excuse to run off. "Alright, the interview is over. Let's get out of here." A girl quickly grabbed him. Wait, he said impatiently. She took out a tablet and asked him to sign before he left. You also had to sign for the girl. People started gossiping. He really signed. Now it's hard to say who the victim is. Inside their car, they thanked him with 100,000 won each from him. For 100,000 in total. Great, let's go eat malatang later. You know we won't get to eat if we die here today. Oh right. Daein resolved in her heart that she would never interview ordinary people again. This terror stunt has failed. The drone hovered. Daein gave orders. Seo-eun pulled up the screen. Daein's image was projected onto the big screen. A swarm of cameras turned toward him. Yes, everyone, the appointed time of 7 o'clock in the evening has arrived. The national projection, 100,000 won on the bridge. Now I will announce the results. Everyone immediately started gossiping. Come on, no way, it's up to 500k now, don't let Jung Jin lose everyone. Jung Jin, I'm sorry. Damn, if Seoul Bridge collapses, how will I go to work tomorrow? And then the shocking result was announced. 1,250,000 people chose the 100,000 won option. And following his words, a fireworks display appeared. They couldn't believe it. Viewers from the beloved Republic of Korea. The girls from earlier also screamed in panic. What is this? Daein snapped her fingers. Please enjoy this final fireworks display. A gift for each of your selfish souls. After that, a series of explosions occurred. Stardust, watching from afar, was furious. Daein raised her cap to her chest, bowed formally and said, Your host, Ego's tick, ends here. At the same time, the camera panned to the scene of the bridge blown to ruins. Oh my god, he killed them. People couldn't bear to watch and left the chat room. Daein was a bit tired, hanging here too long. She's exhausted and about to faint. Now she's reached her limit. You stand in the night full of fireworks, so let Stardust fight them while we just watch. Suddenly, a light streaked across from nowhere. Stardust was dashing off at a terrifying speed. It turned out she was plunging toward the falling car. She reached out trying to grab it. She couldn't grab it. He began to cast his magic, silently cursing, damn it. The car was slowly enveloped by Daein's power. Even Stardust and Daein both gave it their all. Fortunately, Stardust managed to grab onto the car. She slowly lifted the two vehicles up. Daein sighed in relief. Thankfully, everyone was safe. As soon as the words left, he immediately lost strength. His heart seemed to stop beating. His whole body then collapsed downward. Luckily, you managed to teleport in time. Your body hit the ground with a thud, landing in Ego Base. Subin and Seo-eun rushed out in a panic, shouting, Daein. Blood and other fluids were coming from his mouth and nose. His pupils clouded white. There was no sign of life. The two girls watched the scene through the glass, overwhelmed with worry and fear. Inside, Daein lay receiving treatment. They prayed silently. Please open your eyes, Daein. Lee Haru was also standing outside the door, thinking for a long while. She took a deep breath. She gently wiped away a tear. Elsewhere, Ha-yeol stood dazed, staring up at the night sky. She carried a deep sorrow inside her. Her thoughts fixed on Ego's tick, holding the newspaper in her hands. The articles about the two of them. She remembered his words. Never show even the slightest hesitation, because then you and I will be finished. Just one moment of hesitation and your life will become a living hell. Even so, if he hadn't allowed me to retreat, I wouldn't have been able to get out here. She fell into contemplation, but that was clearly the mindset of someone convinced they could do it. As if he knew everything about her. The image of Ego's tick encouraging her came to mind. You can do it, step up and save them. Since he said that, I've been unable to stop thinking about it, even though he was the one who put them in danger. Meeting him again after so long, I was filled with a ton of questions. Are you really the villain? Are you really the bad guy? Ego's tick, who are you after all? Ha-yeol gently took my hand, but because of some strange emotion, in the end, I couldn't say a word. The image of her and little Daein appeared, then a scene of her desperately trying to grab the car. Please, reach for it. Suddenly, the car was enveloped in energy. She startled as she realized its speed was decreasing. She looked up. It was Daein struggling to hold the car with her own strength. After saving the car, she still couldn't stop wondering. Ego's tick really is. While lost in thought, a voice called out, Why are you sitting here alone? I heard it was an attack with no casualties. Icicle stepped forward, holding 2 cans of soda. Her adorable little Shin Ha-yeol. Seeing her, Ha-yeol shouted happily, Seola, thanks for coming. They shared a warm embrace. Seola replied, What are you talking about? Of course I'd come. We're friends after all. Ha-yeol's face flushed as she felt warmth from her friend. They started drinking. Seola puffed her cheeks and gulped down each sip. She shouted with delight, Ah, this is great. Taking in the whole view of Seoul. Spending a quiet night with my Ha-yeol. Suddenly she realized something. Hey Hayul, why are you still buried in work when you're off shift? Is it because of ego's tick again? Forget that guy, even the president of the Hero Association is secretly pleased that the crime rate has dropped. Of course he would never admit it. Looking at his most recent attack, it seems he is no longer trying to target you. Hayul turned to respond. But Seola, can I tell you something? Hayul's gaze hardened. From my point of view, maybe ego's tick isn't a bad person. Moving into the ego base. A pair of feet opened the door and stepped inside. Lee Haru quietly watched Seo-eun lying on the floor. She gently pulled a blanket over Seo-eun, so the girl wouldn't be cold. Her gaze shifted toward the side of the room where Dae-in was lying. Slowly, she pushed the door open and stepped in. Dae-in still lay there with no sign of waking. Standing before Dae-in, she felt a little doubtful. Should I really enter like this? Even if he seems much better now, what if he ends up like the others who try to exploit my power? What should I do? Dae-in's brow furrowed slightly. Lee Haru placed her hand on the glass to observe him more clearly. He doesn't even know who I am. Yet he saved me. He treated me kindly without asking for anything in return. But he is in critical condition, right here in front of me. A tear fell from her eye. Can I really just let him die? I'm sorry, Dan. I'm just not brave enough. You're truly a good person. But if you knew about my power, I was afraid you would be like the others. She wiped away her weak tears. Looking at his battered body, she became determined to use her ability. This time I will be braver. The wounds were slowly being healed by her. Shortly after they had completely disappeared, Dae-in still lay there. Lee Haru gently stepped out. She didn't forget to look back. Thank you. In the end, she also stepped outside, leaving Dae-in alone. Nearby, Dae-in woke up, quietly relieved. At last I can recruit a healer. He slowly sat up. His face was radiant with life. Lee Haru. Thank you. Turning back to Hayul, Seola's voice rang out, so let me be blunt. It's strange that Agostic's attacks never cause casualties except among the villains. And the call during that plane incident. Something no one else could have known. And what about him catching that falling SUV this time? Hayul answered with a kittenish expression. Right. Seola chuckled wryly. Oh come on Hayul, don't tell me you actually believe that conspiracy. That ego's tick is a secret S-rank hero operating in the shadows. Hayul's face darkened with anger. I shouldn't have told him everything. Hayul turned away and replied. Not about believing or not. I just mean it doesn't feel like a conspiracy theory anymore. Seola kept teasing. Just kidding, I'm joking. Calm down, little Hayul. Anyway, you're right, there are a few things that don't add up. This caught Hayul's attention. But then Seola continued, but he still does bad things, right? Even if no civilians were hurt, he still crossed the line. Hayul hummed in agreement. That's true, but Seola began to counsel. So what's important is to treat him like a villain. Hayul fell into thought. I think ego's tick is aiming for something bigger. I still don't know what it is, but Seola's voice rose, cutting across Hayul's train of thought. Miss Workaholic Shin Hayul, don't bring up that guy with the cap anymore. Anyway, have you been interested in anyone lately? You should take a break and try dating, Hayul said with disdain. Someone who's never dated wouldn't know how to meet anyone. Seola blushed awkwardly. It's just that my family is extremely strict about my private life. Okay. It's not that I can't date. The Class A hero Icicle, real name Lee Seola, is the heir to a major conglomerate in Korea, Yuseong. Hayul seized the chance to tease. Hey, you're cute when you're angry. Seola pouted in reply. What do you mean by that, really? The scene cuts to a prison somewhere. An inner gate slowly opens. An old man stepped in. He was an S-rank villain, Kim Seon-woo, the technical advisor for the Hanun conglomerate. A white-haired young man spoke up. Well done, Professor. Kim Seon-woo was answered by two axe-wielding bodyguards. Skip the formalities? How's the progress right now? The young man replied. We've completed 56%. At this pace, the project will be finished around September next year. Before he could finish his sentence, Kim Seon-woo scolded him. Damn it, he shouted angrily. Too slow. I told you to have everything ready before winter. No excuses. He flinched slightly at that. Sitting in the car, he said softly, Let's go. In his head, he calculated silently. Just wait, before this winter ends. Everything in the Republic of Korea will kneel before me. Professor Kim Seon-woo. Cut to the ego base. On the TV, a news bulletin reports that Dr. Kim Seon-woo, who was previously accused of concealing unethical human experiments, was released at around 7 this morning. He is expected to return to Hanun Corporation's research facility. Dae-in's gaze hardened, her voice turned sly. All right, the players are stepping out onto the field. Seo-eun, passing by and overhearing, also felt suspicious. What's with that tone? 3 months later, it was snowing outside. Chae-hyun shouted excitedly. Snow. Seo-eun behind shouted, "Hey, come back here, I was here first." They romped around. In the distance, Subin and Haru were carrying a teapot to set on the table. They sat down. Subin took a sip. After drinking, her face brightened with feeling. "This is so pleasant." Haru beside her chimed in. "Yeah, it's really wonderful." From behind, Dan called out, "Hey, Seo-eun," causing the girl molding a snow duck to involuntarily turn around. He scolded, "Could you walk properly? What are those steps? You ruined the whole patch of snow." The snow had been beautiful just now, pristine and untouched. "Let us start playing." But before he could finish speaking, a snowball flew into his face. The kids in the distance shouted excitedly, "Come here, Mangastic. Get in here." Dain, irritated, lightly brushed the snow from his face and began to condense mana in his hands, not letting the children stay excited for long. Shortly after each of them got a snowball, his eyes lit up like a war god descending. He said, "You brats, come here. I will teach you manners." His body flew into the air. His eyes shone like a star behind, as if preparing to use a very cool skill. A special skill, super speed frost. Seo-eun, shocked, shouted, "What on earth is that?" "That is cheating." Mangastic, Chaehyun behind also joined in. "That move clearly exploits a loophole." The boy raised both hands and shouted that he surrendered. Dain happily agreed. Meanwhile, Seo-eun turned to look at her teammate in utter shock. The face of Seo-eun went dark, both hands holding 2 snowballs ready to fight. A demonic voice from Dain rang out, "Seo-eun, are you ready?" The next moment, the whole body of Seo-eun had turned into an adorably cute snowman. On this side, Dain laughed loudly after winning. "Ah, so hungry. Let us go eat something light." Chaehyun happily followed, obeying. Eating cookies in winter is simply wonderful. They could not resist and shouted, "So delicious." They were only focused on eating and did not notice a white figure slowly approaching. Dain turned and said with a blank expression, "Can you ask Haru to bring a few more?" Before she could finish the sentence, Seo-eun had hefted the huge snowball and slammed it into his head so hard his eyes seemed about to pop out. Seeing him lying there like a lump of meat, Seo-eun was a little frightened. "Mangastic is finished. Was that too rough?" She shouted, "Are you okay?" The girl anxiously shook him and called, "Dain." Haru, carrying out the cake, was a bit surprised to see that. She spoke up, "He is laughing over there. The pretending is too obvious." Only then did Dain turn and mimic her words. With his teasing face, he continued, "So touching." Seo-eun really worried about him. The girl at this moment, both embarrassed and angry, blushed. Seconds later, another brawl broke out. Seo-eun lugged a giant snowball with 2 cups on top that looked like a shrimp head chasing Dain. He ran while talking back, but it really hurt. The girl didn't believe him and snapped, "Shut up." Dain began to wonder. Over the past 3 months we had relaxed and enjoyed the winter. I once thought about staging another terror attack. But Stardust is now as strong as she was in her 3rd year of the original timeline, so it's no longer necessary. Actually, the only change is that Haru has started smiling more. Perhaps she has finally thawed a little and is opening up to us bit by bit. Oh, and public opinion about me has also turned. Everyone pinned the blame for the Seoul Bridge collapse on Ego's Tick. My reputation has completely fallen apart. I mean, 1.2 million people who received my payments obviously had to find someone to blame. It was Ego's Tick who orchestrated that bizarre terror plot. That's right, he manipulated everything and even called us accomplices. Convenient, isn't it? After all, becoming the villain was my original goal. Now we only have to wait for Black Disaster to appear. Back in the present, Seo-eun's voice rang out. "Got you." The girl had grabbed Dain by the hair. A triumphant smile blossomed on the girl's lips. "I won." The next second, she turned into a snowman again. Dain ran off while Chaehyun pointed and laughed with delight. The 2 women had to laugh at the sight. Subin spoke up. "What is that pitiful shriek?" Haru beside him warned, "You'll get hurt if you keep doing those stunts." Dain, exhausted, slumped into a chair and complained, "Ugh, I'm starving. What should we eat tonight? We've played a lot. Or should we do a barbecue?" Chaehyun ran after them, chiming in, "Ooh, great. Hurry inside. It's freezing out here." Haru agreed, but first we have to call Seo-eun. She must be angry somewhere right now. Cut to the red alarm bells blaring loudly. Inside the laboratory, cracks began to form and people clutched their heads and ran. Kim Seon-woo sat before the wreckage shouting, it can't be like this, damn it, where? Everything has disappeared." Someone beside him stepped forward to advise, "Doctor, you must leave here at once." But he wouldn't listen. He barked back, "Let me go. How could I abandon my life's work?" Suddenly he froze when he heard a strange sound. A hideous monster appeared. The others dragged him away, pleading, "Please, sir." "Doctor, we have to run quickly." Being pulled away, he still turned back to look. "No, it can't be. Behemoth, how is test subject number 1? It was only a prototype, yet it has consciousness." The scene cuts to some building. The staff are all in a panic. Explosions erupt everywhere. Stardust darted away as if flying. Opening the door to a room, Stardust asked Mr. President what was happening. He cried, pointing at the screen. Urgent, Stardust, look. On the screen was the image of a monster destroying the houses around. He asked, where did that terrifying thing come from? Witnessing this, Stardust also froze for a moment. Outside, people were shouting and running as the monster attacked. Each strike of its tentacle caused an explosion. The man in the car panicked as he saw something flying toward him. Fortunately, he managed to pull his hand free in time. Still worried about his car, he shouted, my car. The man next to him yelled, what good is the car now? Run. The monster kept ravaging everything while people stood helpless. The father and son could only cling to each other and pray to God. Suddenly, the monster leaped up. On this side, Stardust dashed off while calling back, I will depart immediately. The president, seeing this, shouted, calm down, Stardust. You cannot single-handedly confront something that big. Hearing that, she angrily turned and snapped, I will not sit idly by and watch it rampage like that. Go ahead and sit there eating popcorn, Mr. President. He, hearing that, froze. What did you say? Suddenly a scream made Stardust turn around. The monster from earlier had jumped into the water. Gradually, its body disappeared into the water. They stood there frozen where they were when they saw that. The president, his face darkening, spoke again. Stardust, I want a full report on my desk by tomorrow morning. What is this popcorn nonsense? You only know how to say sorry. The scene shifts. Dain is now eating popcorn. They did not know what they were watching, yet they were shouting intensely. On a quiet night, under the glow of a full moon, the gentle sound of the wind echoes through the city. Inside her apartment, the A-class hero, Stardust, clicks through web pages on her computer. She's scrolling through comments about the infamous villain. Egoistic, the public seems confused, with some people even questioning if he's truly a villain at all. Her eyes land on a popular post titled, a must-read for anyone who still thinks Egoistic is a villain. The post praises him, calling him by the fan nickname Mangastic, for saving Korea from the recent black disaster. Stardust nibbles on a snack, a wry smile on her face as she puts the pieces together. So this is how it turned out. She muses to herself. She realizes that if Egoistic hadn't collapsed the bridge in what seemed like a terrorist act, no hero in Korea would have been able to stop the monster. The revelation leaves her feeling uneasy, thinking this can't be right. Troubled by this new understanding, Stardust heads out for a walk in the dead of night. Her internal conflict rages. Despite his actions, she holds onto her conviction. He's a villain and I'm a hero. She breaks into a run, her resolve hardening. No matter the complexities, she reaffirms her duty. Even if I have to protect, I'll be the one to protect. As she steels her determination, a news broadcast reveals a shocking truth to the nation. The recent black disaster was no random event. It was caused by experiments from a top conglomerate, the Hanun Group, which has since collapsed overnight. The report continues, stating there's no trace of human presence at the Hanun Group building. The chairman, the lead scientist Dr. Kim Seon-woo, and his entire research team have vanished without a trace. Elsewhere, the villain Egoistic, whose real name is Kim Do-in, is having a celebratory dinner with his 3 teammates. Hearing the news of Hanun Group's downfall, he cheers. Woohoo, so this is how it ends up. His companion, a fiery girl with orange hair, erupts in rage, serves them right. Those bastards, she yells, wishing death upon the corrupt officials. Not yet, Kim Do-in says, his tone suddenly serious. We need to catch every last one of those runners. His other 2 teammates, Seo-eun and a brown-haired girl, share the sentiment, comically fantasizing about hunting down the remaining Hanun members. But Kim Do-in just smiles cheerfully, waving his chopsticks. Don't worry too much, he says, full of confidence. They'll crawl out on their own soon enough. More importantly, he continues, can everyone gather here? The sudden shift makes his team nervous. Seo-eun immediately gets a bad feeling, while her friend cautiously asks, what are you planning to do this time? Kim Do-in dramatically unrolls a massive blueprint, revealing his next target. His teammates stare in disbelief, exclaiming, Hanun Group's underground lab. The group erupts in chaos, as Seo-eun has a minor panic attack. The others demand to know what's so important about the lab that warrants such a risky mission. Ignoring their frantic questions, Kim Do-in calmly takes a red marker and circles a specific location on the blueprint. Sector B9, with a wide, unnerving grin, he finally reveals why they're going there. Deep within that lab, he declares, lies something absolutely insane. He explains that the insane thing is a project codenamed Behemoth, an army of artificial superhumans. all connected to a single monstrous entity. It was designed to be the ultimate weapon, composed of a miraculous material capable of withstanding a nuclear blast and even nullifying the powers of the S-class hero Shadow Walker. He reveals that the black disaster that Egoistic helped stop was merely a prototype. If the true behemoth had been completed, its power would have been unimaginable. Even Kim Dae-in himself seems taken aback by the sheer scale of it all, letting out a stunned huh. His entire team is left speechless and wide-eyed. Seon looks around at her frozen companions, wondering why everyone is suddenly so quiet. The shock quickly turns into excitement for Seon. Her eyes glint as she realizes the danger means a chance to get stronger, asking if it's time to wreck her body again. Kim Dae-in playfully retorts that a few more holes in her stomach might look good on her. Seon explodes, getting right in his face. "Are you kidding me right now?" she screams, demanding a power-up for herself. The meeting immediately devolves into chaos as Seon unleashes a flurry of attacks. Kim Dae-in dodges and yells, while their other teammates try and fail to de-escalate the situation, begging them both to stop. While dodging the playful assault, Kim Dae-in recalls a key detail from the original story. The Hero Association never took action. Based on that, he dismisses the risk. Nothing serious will happen, right? But he was wrong at that very moment. Inside the towering headquarters of the Korea Superhuman Association, the situation was already escalating. Inside the association headquarters, an emergency meeting is underway. An official reports that multiple life signs have been detected in the buried lab. The monsters Hanun group was creating are still alive. A high-ranking official sitting at the head of the table asks for a report from one of their top heroes, Shadow Walker. The hero, Shadow Walker, appears on screen. He reports that he attempted to infiltrate the lab the previous night, but his shadow-based powers were completely neutralized by a strange wavelength emitted from the site. The official turns to their remaining option. "You heard that. Support will be difficult. Are you still going?" Stardust below, the hero Stardust hovers over the massive dark pit. Without a hint of hesitation, Stardust looks up and gives her answer. Yes, with her confirmation, the official formally approves the dangerous solo mission. Wreathed in a brilliant golden aura, Stardust dives headfirst into the darkness of the collapsed lab. At the same time, another figure appears at the edge of the crater. It is Kim Dae-in, now in his full villain persona as Egoistic, complete with his signature mask and top hat. Speaking to his team remotely, he admits, "It's making me a bit nervous since it wasn't planned." From their base, Seon immediately teases him, asking if he wants to come back already. He scoffs, putting on a brave face for his stream. "Man, Kim Dae-in, like I'd be scared of some monsters," he boasts. Back at the base, his teammates just roll their eyes at his antics. But beneath the teasing, their smiles show genuine concern. "Be careful," they say in unison, seeing him off as he prepares to go live. And with a flourish of purple energy, Kim Dae-in begins his broadcast. "Nice to meet you, everyone. This is Egoistic." In an instant, 10,000 viewers flood his stream, the chat exploding with questions. He playfully asks if they're curious about today's terrorism, before clarifying that today is simply an exploration. He then reveals his location: the secret underground lab of the now-defunct Hanun group. Feigning curiosity, he invites his massive audience to discover the lab's sinister secrets alongside him. Back at the Hero Association, the officials are watching the stream in horror. They realize that the nation's most famous villain is now in the exact same location as their top hero, Stardust. The association head frantically tries to contact her, but there's no signal. He realizes with dread. She's gone deep enough that radio signals can't reach anymore. An official slams his fist down in fury. "Damn it, who does Egoistic think he is?" Suddenly barging in there. "This is insane." The senior official, however, remains oddly calm. He turns to his bewildered assistant and gives an unexpected order. "Assistant, go get some popcorn, half caramel, half salt." Meanwhile, Egoistic takes his first steps into the dark, abandoned laboratory, using a small drone as a floating flashlight. The creepy atmosphere immediately gets to him as he wonders what horrors took place there. He looks around, his masked face betraying a sense of genuine unease at the eerie green glow of the forsaken test chambers. As his audience comments on the scary atmosphere, Egoistic quickly puts his showman persona back on. "Would I, the one who made all of Korea tremble, be scared by mere traces of experiments like this?" he boasts. His boast is immediately cut short by a loud, metallic clang echoing through the hall, making him jump in fright. Letting out a terrified scream, he instantly summons an arsenal of glowing blue guns, ready to obliterate whatever made the noise. But the source of the terrifying sound is revealed to be a small, fluffy white cat, peeking innocently from behind a corner. Ego's Tick lets out a huge sigh of relief, his floating gun still aimed at the tiny creature. What? It's just a cat, right? He stammers, trying to regain his composure. His relief quickly turns to suspicion. In a sealed-off, underground lab where everyone has vanished, the random appearance of a live cat is more than a little strange. His suspicion proves correct as the cat begins to distort, its body twisting and contorting in an unnatural way. Ego's Tick stands his ground as sinister red tendrils begin to snake across the floor, heralding the arrival of a much greater threat. The cute animal is gone, replaced by a grotesque monster with glowing red eyes, perched atop a writhing mass of flesh. Ego's Tick turns, his face a mask of pure shock as he finally comprehends the horrifying creature before him. With its transformation complete, the monster reveals a grotesque, mask-like face and throws itself directly at the terrified streamer. The monster shrieks, its massive jaws opening wide as it closes in on Ego's Tick. Screaming in pure terror, Ego's Tick instinctively opens fire, unleashing a panicked barrage of bullets at the creature. Elsewhere in the dark laboratory, Stardust freezes. The distinct sound of rapid gunfire echoes through the desolate halls, telling her she is not alone. Her eyes narrow, her expression turning serious as she identifies the sound, heralding a confrontation to come. Gunshot. In the chaos, Daein remembered the moment before carrying out the plan. He and Seoun were lying on the bed, and she had nagged that he shouldn't have come here. He himself regretted it deeply and wished he could be stronger. Back in the present, Daein panicked intensely. He blamed himself for not listening to Seoun and thought he should have stayed home to practice teleportation instead. He hadn't expected increasing his power to be so difficult. At that moment, a grotesque monster full of jagged mouths lunged straight at him, its horrific cries echoing down the dark corridor. Daein quickly regained his composure. No, regretting now would do no good, he told himself, and used his powers to create guns from thin air, ready to fight. The face behind the mask hardened with determination. At this point, he would have to take the risk. Daein charged into battle, directing his weapons to attack the monsters. He shouted, "If I'm here, I have to catch the behemoth before I leave." He moved with extreme agility, dodging the enemy's attacks by a hair's breadth. During the fight, Daein didn't forget to raise his camera. He seemed intent on recording every moment, even in this life-or-death situation. Then the giant behemoth appeared right before him. Daein showed no hesitation, reached out toward it and shouted, "Die!" Suddenly, a massive beam of energy came from somewhere and struck the behemoth, knocking Daein backward. The creature roared in unbearable pain as the energy burned it, its body beginning to disintegrate. The explosion was so powerful it shook and collapsed the entire chamber. Daein fell to the ground, stunned by the scene before him. In the chaos, the weapons Daein had created rained down and vanished from the floor. Sensing danger, Daein fled in haste. He panicked, realizing he had left behind both his camera and guns in the chaos and had no idea how deep this place extended. He tried to contact his teammates via his communicator. "All right, Seoun, can you hear me?" But all that answered was static interference. The signal couldn't get through here. Daein began to feel real fear, though he still tried to act tough and claim he was only a little scared. Suddenly his ear twitched. A strange sound had just sounded, indicating someone else was nearby. Another explosion even larger than before occurred at the end of the corridor. Stardust stood at the epicenter of the blast. Daein hurriedly raised his hand to shield himself. When the light subsided, the image of Stardust appeared, heat radiating from her fist. Daein felt a strangely familiar sensation. Daein was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. The one who had saved him was the S-rank heroine he had always wanted to encounter. "Stardust," he uttered. Stardust, exuding an aura of power, turned and also recognized the familiar villain. Her blue eyes glinting sharply. Ego's Tick. The two faced each other in the ruined corridor. Stardust asked coldly, "What are you doing here?" Daein, a little flustered, stammered back, "Stardust, if I may ask, what are you doing here?" "I am a hero," Stardust replied decisively. "So it's no surprise that I'm cleaning up this place, is it?" Daein forced a smile. Yes, I suppose not." But inside he was cheering. Perfect timing. His plan seemed to be going as intended. Stardust smiled menacingly. To her this was indeed an unexpected harvest. Contrary to her fearsome presence, Daein was inwardly ecstatic. He couldn't believe Stardust was smiling at him. She warned, "If you come with me quietly, it won't be too painful." But Daein seemed not to understand the threat. He was simply entranced by her beauty. Without saying more, Stardust launched her attack. Daein hurriedly used his power to barely dodge the blow, The fight between the two officially began. Stardust kept unleashing powerful strikes. Dain could only struggle to evade. His defensive abilities were gradually being overwhelmed. He screamed in despair as the heroine gave him not a second to breathe. Knowing he couldn't hold out, Dain hastily raised his hand to signal a stop. "Wait, stop," he shouted, trying to halt Stardust's next attack. Pinned to the wall, Dain began his plan. He cried out in panic, "I know, in your eyes I'm just a villain. But inside Dain is screaming like crazy. What should I do?" Dain began to persuade Stardust. He pointed to the ruined surroundings and said, "Look around, this place is extremely dangerous. And you don't even know where this is, right? How about we form a temporary alliance until we can descend to the deeper levels?" Stardust looked skeptical. She crossed her arms and asked back, "Why don't you tell me why you are here first?" Dain stammered an answer, saying it was out of curiosity for knowledge. Stardust explained that she had come to investigate the Hanun Corporation, the ones who caused the horrific black disaster before. She suspected they were plotting something even more terrible here. After a moment of silence, Stardust curled her lip in a peculiar smile. "All right," she said. Dain was completely surprised by her answer. Stardust declared, "Then form the alliance. Come with me." She admitted she was struggling to deal with the monsters alone and Dain might help. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Dain still dazed. Dain couldn't believe what had happened. He had just blurted out an offer not expecting Stardust to actually agree. The situation unfolded in an unforeseeable way. Both had their own calculations. Stardust thought that if forced, Egostick might flee, so it was better to keep him close for monitoring. Meanwhile, Dain was delighted the events were going as he wished and hoped to get answers about Stardust. Stardust began rifling through the drawers nearby, searching for clues about Hanun Corporation's activities. Dain sneaked along behind, curiously peeking over her shoulder to see what she was doing. He looked more like a fanatic fan than an ally. He got too close, making Stardust extremely uncomfortable. Stardust suddenly spun around and shouted in Dain's face, "You villain, what are you sneaking around for? This is classified material. Get out." Dain flinched, hurried back and stammered apologies. Dain was so scared he shrank back, sweat pouring down. He thought to himself, "This is terrifying." However, shortly after, Dain quickly regained his composure. It seemed he had another idea. In Dain's mind, the image of Stardust suddenly became radiant and gentle. He imagined them together in a garden of white lilies. Dain's face flushed with delight. He thought to himself, "I love this so much." Being alongside his idol was wonderful. The two continued deeper into the base, Stardust leading easily in front. Dain followed behind, wondering, has her clairvoyance developed to this level? They stopped before a metal door. On it a sign read, "Superpower Neutralization Room." Dain read the sign aloud, "Superpower Neutralization Room." Stardust suddenly called his name and stood so close it made him a little flustered. "Yes," he replied, sensing something amiss. Without hesitation, Stardust pointed at the door and ordered decisively, "Go inside." Dain was utterly shocked. "Emmy," he stammered, unable to believe she would use him to test such a dangerous room. Though he felt treated like a guinea pig, Dain pretended to agree cheerfully. But Stardust gave him no chance to act. She shoved him inside. Dain staggered into the pitch-black room, not knowing what awaited him ahead. No sooner had he stepped in than Stardust slammed the door shut, trapping him inside. Immediately, Dain sensed something was wrong. His hat fell to the floor. He tried to use his powers, but nothing happened. He realized in shock, "My telekinesis doesn't work, and neither does teleportation." Dain stood motionless in the silent room, bathed in strange red light. For the first time, he felt utterly powerless. The door opened and Stardust stepped in. Dain turned, both astonished and curious. "It really doesn't work. Is that so? What's the principle behind this thing?" Dain suddenly froze, staring at Stardust in horror. Stardust, using only her bare hand, punched the metal wall of the room with a thunderous blow, cracking it open. She stood there calmly, as if what she had done were nothing at all. Stardust explained coldly that she was merely testing whether the room truly neutralized powers. Dain snapped back in anger. "It really works. Even as a villain, I don't lie about things like this." Dain's inner world was a mess. He admired Stardust's extraordinary strength while fearing her recklessness. His emotions rose and fell like a roller coaster. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red warning lights began flashing continuously. Thick steel doors started slamming shut, sealing off every exit. Both were shocked and had no time to react. They looked at the sealed doors and realized they had been trapped. Both Dain and Stardust sensed the grave danger of the situation. They were locked in a confined space where all superpowers were disabled. Dain realized the ironic scenario: a hero and a villain Two adults locked together. He was living out a classic plotline. Stardust tried her best to break the escape door, her whole body glowing a fierce red, but the door didn't budge. Dain told Stardust that trying to break the door was useless because it was programmed to open automatically in about 3 hours, and showed her a countdown clock reading 2 hours 58 minutes and 41 seconds. Dain went on to tell Stardust that the heavily secured door would open in 3 hours and advised her not to waste her energy, saying they should get out together when it opened. Stardust looked surprised and irritated, standing in the dark space surrounded by strange beams of light. Blood flowed from Stardust's hand. She seemed to have been injured while trying to break the door. Dain silently watched and noticed the wound as well. Dain slowly stood up and continued to urge Stardust not to be foolish, saying she wasn't even in a state to use her powers. Stardust stood there, eyes resolute, hands clenched as she watched Dain's movements. Dain straightened, reached out towards Stardust, and said, "Give me your hand." Stardust looked at Dain in surprise, eyes wide with astonishment and suspicion as he kept his hand extended. Dain carefully took Stardust's hand, now bandaged, the blood still seeping through the white wrap. Stardust stared at Dain, her deep blue eyes wide, feeling an indescribable surprise and complex thoughts about his action. Stardust turned away, saying she wouldn't thank Dain, but he teased her that it sounded like a thank you. Stardust angrily punched the wall and then glared back at Dain, prompting him to say, "Ah, right, I get it. Let's leave it at that. Be careful with your hands." Dain put a hand on his hat and let out a soft sigh. Dain sat down against the wall and said he would lie down for a bit. Stardust watched him in astonishment. Dain stretched out on the floor, saying there was nothing to do for the next 3 hours and advising Stardust to rest and take a nap to conserve energy. Stardust looked skeptical and annoyed, her face showing clear wariness. After an hour passed, Stardust sat propped against the wall while Dain remained lying there, eyes wide and blank, silently thinking that although he said he'd sleep, there was no way he could actually doze off. Tears tracked down Dain's face as he thought to himself that he couldn't let his guard down for even a second because the situation was so dangerous. Dain turned his face away, thinking he felt like a mouse in a jar, and that Stardust, stronger than most grown men even without powers, kept him from ever fully relaxing his vigilance. At that moment, Stardust also turned to look, and the two of them met each other's eyes. Seeing this, Stardust blushed slightly and looked away. Dain seemed to have caught that endearing moment of Stardust's. He tugged his shirt gently and smiled in satisfaction. 2 hours later, things grew more serious as Stardust began to struggle to breathe from the decreasing oxygen. Dain also looked tired and said he was truly exhausted this time. Dain noticed Stardust having trouble breathing, and then suddenly Stardust spoke, mentioning the Soul Bridge. Dain turned with a surprised expression, not understanding what Stardust meant. Gasping, Stardust asked Dain about the car incident, whether it had been his doing. Dain stared at Stardust, eyes wide with shock and an inner doubt. Has she figured it out? Dain recalled his hands channeling mana to try to hold the falling car over the sea during the Soul Bridge incident. Stardust, still weak, repeated the question about the car accident and pressed, "I'm asking. Did you stop it, right?" Dain awkwardly denied. "What are you talking about? I'm a villain. I don't know how to stop. I always move forward, right?" Stardust glared at him, thinking he was talking nonsense. Stardust looked at Dain with determination, asking about the plane crash and demanding why he told her to save it. Dain's face showed outright horror, his eyes wide and darting as if searching for an excuse to cover it up. After thinking a moment, Dain began to explain. "I already said this. I'm the villain and you're the hero. Your existence makes me more complete. That's the kind of relationship we have." He said it out loud, but inwardly Dain asked himself, wait, why is she like that? Finally, with sweat dotting his face, Dain concluded that it was nothing strange for a hero to go rescue people. Dain sat on the floor still trying to explain while Stardust curled up, her face full of irritation. Dain thought to himself that he'd overreacted out of embarrassment and hurriedly told himself it was just the lack of oxygen. Stardust lowered her head, eyes cold, reasoning that then the one who collapsed Soul Bridge must be. Stardust pressed on, asking Dain whether he had foreknowledge of the monster's appearance and that it would head to Soul Bridge to do that. Dain forced a mocking smile, teasing Stardust for believing the silly conspiracy theories online. He continued to rationalize that he was a bit surprised too, but it was clearly just a random coincidence. Looking at Stardust's resolute expression, Dain thought to himself, could she really be testing me? Dain appeared flustered, wondering if he had missed something. A horrifying image flashed. Mapo Bridge destroyed in a sea of fire and smoke. Next came the image of a plane in distress, plummeting through the sky. And then, the vision of a gigantic, dark monster looming like a disaster. The Black Calamity. Daein thought that Stardust wasn't buying conspiracy theories, but was instead questioning whether he was the villain. Looking into that suspicious gaze from Stardust, Daein realized it came from contact with him. Such doubts naturally arose from previous terror incidents, in other words, the hero's intuition. Daein held himself back, thinking that if he explained clumsily, Stardust would only become more suspicious, and he chuckled softly. Stardust kept a skeptical look, wondering, while Daein thought the only way out of this was to charge straight into confrontation. Daein burst into a manic laugh, saying, "Yes, I knew it all. I knew the monster would come, so I smashed it beforehand." Stardust sat there, utterly shocked. The ability Daein referred to was a secret move, ego style. Daein added, "So then." Meanwhile, Stardust's expression darkened. Daein sneered, challenging Stardust. "So what will you do about it?" He thought to himself this strategy could be called the "so what" approach. Sounds reasonable. Stardust leaned back, wondering how Daein could know. Did he have the ability to see the future? And then he pointed to himself and said tersely, "Hacking." Daein stood in a dramatic pose, surrounded by lines of glowing red code, his eyes shining. He boasted that as a Korea-wide cyber manipulator, knowing some classified info wasn't surprising. He thought to himself, prophet, what prophecy, how naive. Stardust still looked skeptical and said, "That's still strange." Daein kept his sly smile, his eyes glowing red as he replied, "What? What's strange now, Stardust?" Stardust glared at Daein in anger, questioning why he would prevent civilian casualties when he's supposed to be a villain. Daein, a panic on his face, explained that he hated having the spotlight stolen. He timed the monster's appearance and stopped it because if civilian casualties were too great, no one would pay attention to him anymore. It was all to draw attention and serve his own performance. Daein, sweating and eyes spinning, forced a smile and said that as long as things didn't get completely out of control, he didn't care whether civilians lived or died, since it had nothing to do with him. Stardust turned her face away and said nothing. The room fell silent. Daein, looking a bit flustered, tried to emphasize his point and asked Stardust if she understood. His own gasps still audible. Suddenly Daein broke into that sly grin, his eyes glowing red. Stardust sprang to her feet, causing him to sit back down instinctively. Daein stared straight at Stardust, his expression serious and thoughtful, unsure what she intended to do. Stardust glanced at him and stared for a long time without speaking, making Daein worry and break into a sweat. Her face grew dark, her blue eyes wide open. Daein watched Stardust carefully, waiting to see what she would do next. Stardust coldly ordered Daein to move aside, his face blank with bewilderment. Daein glanced at the digital clock on the wall. Only 10 seconds remained on the countdown before the door would open. The moment the clock hit 0, a loud beep sounded and a heavy door slid open, revealing the path ahead. Stardust's knees buckled. Her hands still bandaged, she picked up a stone. Stardust's next action startled Daein. The stone in her hand crumbled beneath her grip, and a light radiated from her hand, signaling that her power had returned. "Move straight ahead," Stardust ordered. "Go." Behind her, Daein tested his own ability. Purple magic pulsed from his hand, manipulating the fragments of stone Stardust had crushed, and he replied to her, They entered a long, dark corridor marked by a lattice of green glowing lines, tension hanging in the air. They passed a damaged information station, and Daein stopped to check the data on its flickering screen. The screen displayed information on a creature codenamed Teleporter, listing it as an A-rank threat with the ability to teleport instantly for surprise attacks. Daein looked surprised, realizing the creature had evolved beyond expectations. A flash of light made both of them look up instinctively. Their investigation led them to a massive empty test tube labeled Behemoth Prototype 0. Daein confirmed this was where the Black Disaster had been held, the thing that had escaped earlier. Daein then acted cheerful, claiming their work here was done and the lab was empty now, as if trying to trick Stardust into leaving. But inwardly he was amazed by Stardust. He realized she wasn't fooled by his ruse. Her instincts told her there was more to find. He thought to himself that her intuition was remarkable. Playing the fool, Daein nervously suggested they check a random direction, but Stardust saw through his thin attempt to distract her. Completely ignoring his suggestion, she confidently announced they'd take a different route, leaving a comically bewildered Daein behind. And her instinct was right. She led them to another room where they found the real target, a grotesque creature floating in a giant containment tube. Daein confirmed, "This is Behemoth." While the monster remained confined, Stardust immediately got to work, checking a nearby control panel for more information. Suddenly, Stardust turned away and walked off from the console. Daein panicked, calling after her and asking why she would leave him alone with the dangerous Behemoth. But Stardust was simply reviewing some documents she had found. Daein was baffled by her calm demeanor. He had tried to play a proper villain, but she nonchalantly turned her back on him. He thought wryly that his villainous pride had been wounded. A sinister smile crossed Daein's face. He decided that mere talk wasn't enough. It was time to show her what a real villain would do. With a loud crack, the containment glass shattered. Stardust spun around in shock as Daein declared he would reveal his true nature himself. Daein reached out and absorbed the monster's power. A powerful wave emanated from it and swept through the room. "What the hell are you doing?" Stardust shouted in alarm. As Behemoth's grotesque arm enveloped Daein's, a calm, mocking version of his voice rang out. "What does it look like?" He was clearly relishing the chaos he had created. Daein's face twisted into a wicked grin as red energy flared around his fist. He stated his intent coldly. "This is a betrayal," Stardust screamed in fury, her voice filled with accusation and anger toward the man she had reluctantly trusted. Now triumphant, Daein looked at his hand and recalled a plot point from the original story. Some Dr. Kim Seon-woo had used Behemoth against her. He was deliberately recreating an event from the past. That means... He trailed off, implying he'd play the villain in this scenario. He stood facing Stardust, ready for battle. "I'll beat you to death," Stardust shouted. She lunged forward, throwing a radiant punch of golden energy. Daein matched her, charging with his enhanced arm. Daein's red and black energy flared as his arm slowly began to transform. It started to swell and lengthen. Then it lunged toward the attacking Stardust. Their strikes met, and shockwaves rippled through the space. Stardust was stunned to see her massive energy attack easily blocked. She hadn't expected that. Daein flashed a smug smile, fully in control of the situation. Quickly, Stardust regained her composure and threw another punch, but Daein still parried with ease. The fight erupted into a series of violent clashes. Stardust's golden energy and Daein's dark power collided repeatedly, triggering a chain of earth-shattering explosions. Stardust bravely dashed through the blasts to press her attack, but Daein used his teleportation ability to dodge, keeping her from getting close. Daein laughed maniacally, taunting her. "Ha ha ha! What's the matter? Planning to blow this place up, Stardust? It will all collapse and crush us." Then Daein struck, forcing Stardust to hunch defensively as she was knocked downward. Furious, Stardust shouted that he should fight fair. Daein, smirking, retorted, "Since when does a villain have to fight fair?" Stardust's anger peaked. She roared and focused an immense amount of energy, preparing a devastating strike. The two powers collided once more, producing a more horrifying explosion than before, bathing the area in blinding light. "This is what a real villain is, Stardust. Got it?" Daein mocked, lecturing her on the nature of evil. Stardust gritted her teeth in anger, but behind her the shadow of the monster loomed, ready to join the fight, startling even Daein on the opposite side. The mantis-like creature, with long, razor-sharp pincers, approached at lightning speed. While contending with Stardust, Daein assessed, "It's too fast." Amid the chaotic battle, Daein thought he couldn't find a good opportunity to teleport with Stardust while the creature's pincer was so close to her. As its pincer neared Stardust's head, Daein resolved that it was too late to hesitate. Seconds later, Daein teleported behind Stardust. He shoved Stardust out of the blow and took the attack himself. Stardust was utterly shocked by his action. In panic and disbelief, Stardust screamed the name of the enemy who had just saved her. Before Stardust could understand what was happening, Daein's body began to dissolve into a beam of teleportation light. What just happened?" she stammered. The blow he took left Daein bleeding profusely. In his final moments before vanishing, Daein's thoughts were only of Stardust. "Just now, you owe me one." His thought finished as he disappeared completely in a flash, leaving Stardust alone amid the wreckage. The scene cut to a modern room where Daein's team members waited anxiously. Seon was complaining that he always vanished without a word, never thinking of those waiting at home. Suddenly, Seoun's face brightened. "Oh, he's back!" she cried with joy. The girl rushed to the door to greet him, genuinely scolding. "You went out of touch for no reason. Why are you home so late?" With a hint of reproach in her words, Seoun's smile froze, replaced by a look of shock and utter horror. The other two members went pale when they heard Seoun's piercing scream. They rushed over to see what had happened. Dae-in lay unconscious on the floor in a pool of blood. Seoun knelt beside him, horrified by her brother's condition. A terrible wound was visible in his side, blood continuously gushing out. The group panicked. Subin stammered about finding a first aid kit or calling 911, while Seoun desperately shook Dae-in, trying to wake him up. Dae-in remained unconscious, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He looked as if he were hanging between life and death. Amid the chaos, Haryu spoke up, telling the panicked Seoun to step back. Seoun looked up at the girl, eyes brimming with tears, full of desperation and hope. Haryu's hands began to emit a green light, a vibrant healing energy. She placed her glowing hands on Dae-in, focusing the healing energy into his wound. Green energy enveloped the room as the girl poured all her strength into saving Dae-in. Back in the collapsing laboratory, Stardust knelt on the ground, gasping. She looked at the empty behemoth containment tube and realized Dae-in had lost too much blood. Stardust was completely bewildered, her hands trembling. She wondered to herself, why did he save me?
Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more awesome content.